flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, and welcome to the May 27, 2025 regular meeting of the Jackson Township Council. Pursuant to the provisions of the New Jersey Open Publics Meeting Act, adequate notice of this meeting was properly provided by transmitting the notice of the meeting on January 28, 2025 for publication. Notice of this meeting in the Township Council has been posted in the corridor of the municipal building and in the office of the municipal clerk. Councilman Borelli.
Here.
Councilman Palmieri.
Present.
Council Vice President Bernstein.
Here.
Council President Kuhn.
Here.
Also attending is Township Clerk Martin, myself, Deputy Clerk Jen Corelli, and Township Attorney Mr. McGuckin. Council President Kuhn.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to ask everyone to please join me in a moment of silence in honor of Councilman Scott Sargent, whose service and dedication to our community will never be forgotten. Let us take this moment to reflect on his contributions and impact he made on all of us. Thank you. Tonight is both an honor and a privilege to stand before you as we recognize and welcome 6 new hires to the Jackson Police Department. To the newest members of our police force, congratulations and thank you. Your decision to serve and protect our community is both courageous and deeply appreciated. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank our Public Safety Director, Director Candido, for his continued leadership and dedication. His tireless efforts to backfill positions and recruit more outstanding men and women to our department have been instrumental in strengthening the Jackson Police Department. Thanks to his proactivity approach, we are not only filling vacancies, but we are also building a more resilient and responsive police force to keep our town safe. These new additions mark not just growth, but progress. Progress in the building of a department that reflects the strength, integrity, and values of our town. We are grateful to have these new officers on board and confident that they will uphold the high standards and tradition of excellence that define the Jackson Police Department. While we celebrate these new beginnings, we also pause to honor a tremendous loss in our community. We take a moment to remember someone who was near and dear to all of us, Councilman Scott Sargent, a proud Navy veteran and a pillar of strength on this very council. Scott was more than a colleague. He was a true public servant leader. His voice was steady, his heart was strong, and his love for Jackson ran deep. It was an honor to serve besides him, and I know I speak for many when I say his leadership, wisdom, and unwavering commitment to our town will never be forgotten. His legacy will live on in one decision we make to better this community. So tonight, as we welcome the newest members of our police department, we also remember a man who gave so much of himself to Jackson. Let us move forward to the same sense of duty and dedication that Councilman Sargent did every day. Thank you, and may we continue to serve Jackson with pride, purpose, and unity.
Thank you, Council President Kuhn. At this time, does any member of the council have anything they would like to share in regards to Councilman Sargent?
Yes, Madam Clerk, thank you. I had the opportunity to know Councilman Sargent, Scott, as we used to call him, for about 9 years. I met Scott taking a walk one day, when he was driving down Brookwood Parkway. He stopped, he saw that I needed help, and he offered his hand to me. He became a cherished close friend. When I got the call on Friday at 5:45, we were about to go in early Shabbos, the power down usually around 6:15. I sat in my car for over an hour crying. Scott was a dear friend to every Jackson resident. He cared passionately. It didn't make a difference if you wore a yarmulke, if you were black, if you were white, if you were Hispanic, he cared. Scott was someone who, when he was on the Board of Ed, used to reach out and ask, what could I do to bridge the differences? What could I do to help everyone? I still remember when the decision was made on this day as to appoint myself on the council, how Scott called me after and said, Morty, I want to tell you this is the proudest moment of my life. I bridged the gap. I made that vote, and I'm proud of it. Make me proud. My last conversation with Scott, I think he went into surgery on Wednesday, if I remember correctly. I called him the day before, to check in on him. And I'm going to say something which some people may not like, but I'm going to say it anyways. Scott said to me on the phone, he said, Morty, what are your future political plans? So I said, Scott, I'm happy with where I am. He said, no, you're not. So I said, yes, Scott, I am. He said, are you running for assembly or for Senate? I said, Scott, I'm okay with where I am. He said, Morty, you're going to be running for higher office, and I'm going to be there to help you. So I chuckled, but that was really Scott. Scott was always someone who was kept on looking for more, pushing people to do more. I had the opportunity, I used to speak to Scott somewhere between 6:45 and 7:45, almost every single morning when he was up to it. And then I speak to Council President also, and to the mayor and some of my other colleagues here. Scott used to call me almost daily for a period of time, checking in, asking what do the constituents need before I was on the dais. I still remember Scott was one of the initial votes on something that we're going to be voting on tonight, hopefully. I still remember Scott picking up the phone and calling me, and that was the process had begun before I was on the dais, and asking me some questions. And I remember saying to him, I said, Scott, you're voting for something that, he said, Morty, stop right now. He said, I'm going to do what's right for Jackson. That really was the legacy of Scott Sargent. Scott looked at himself as someone who was there for every resident, no matter what, no matter who. And he would have tough conversations. There were times when he picked up the phone and yelled at me at the way he felt that my demeanor was on the dais, or what he felt I said something I shouldn't have said, or whether it was after a Republican club meeting, or coming over to my house on a perm and feeling like I was a little too immature. That was Scott. Scott was like an older, wiser brother or uncle or grandfather sometimes, or sometimes a father. We're going to miss Scott. I know my wife is going to miss him. My children are going to miss him. And we should all take a moment, think about what he did for Jackson, what he did for the individuals in Jackson. I think he had over a decade of service to this town in many various different capacities. He obviously served our country. He was a true hero, and we're going to miss Scott. God bless us all.
I could just remember Scott Sargent for just a moment. Councilman Sargent, I had the opportunity to serve with him on the Jackson Board of Education before serving here on council with him. And one thing I know about Councilman Sargent was that he always did what he thought and felt was right for Jackson. He always tried to put Jackson first. He was a true patriot, and he will be very much so missed. He would sit right to the right of me. We would oftentimes share just information about the meeting or just life. And he was a great guy. So my thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to the Sargent family, as he will be missed.
Ms. Martin, I'd like to say a few words about Councilman Sargent, who I've served with for the last couple of years, and it was an honor and pleasure to serve with him. He was always a gentleman, but he was never afraid to tell you what he thought of you or anything else for that matter. Scott's approach was very refreshing, especially in an era where so many political people resort to pandering and saying what you want to hear. My thoughts and prayers and condolences and that of my wife are with Councilman Sargent's wife's Claudia and her family at this time. He really was the true epitome of what a public servant should be, dedicating his life to serving our town and country in the United States Navy, working selflessly to make our community a better place for all, even when his health was failing him. He served the people right until the end, and I can't think of a better way to live a life. And now he's at peace, and God be with him, and he will be very much missed up here on the dais. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Council President Kuhn, is there anything further?
No, ma'am.
The next item for tonight's meeting is an update from the Department of Public Works, Mr. Sean Belinsky. Council President Kuhn.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Installation and construction on our new Johnson Park playground has begun. Work should be completed within the next few weeks, just in time for summer. Brush collection is in Zone 5, starts today. You can go to the Township website, go to the Department of Public Works, then click on the link that states Find My Zone if you don't know where your zone is or what zone you're in. It's the same for recycling, brush, and bulk. So just so you know, I didn't know what zone I was in. There's a lot of zones, so that's a good little tool. A reminder, all residents who reside in Four Seasons at South Knolls, bulk collection is tomorrow. We are happy to announce that we'll be hosting a summertime clean community event. The cleanup event will be on Sunday, June 29th, and is open to 30 local nonprofit organizations. Applications will be sent out on Friday, May 30th. All groups on the list will receive their application this week. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
The next item on the agenda is the Police Department Oath of Offices. Council President Kuhn?
Yes. So we would like to have the oath of office for Sergeant Alex Krananian. I'm going to say it right. I tried. I apologize. To rank of lieutenant. If you could please come up. Thank you. Director Candido? I tried. Huh? I tried. Listen, I did cheat notes and everything. Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Candido. You got 2 more days. Enjoy it.
I know. Good evening, folks. My name is Joe Candido. I'm the Public Safety Director. To my left is Chief Coons. We'll be doing the oath of office for Sergeant, now Lieutenant Karinian. If you could come forward, please. All right, we're backwards. Yeah. Okay. Sergeant Alexander Karinian, as we affectionately call him, Slater on the street, was born in Brooklyn, New York. Alex moved to Jackson at a young age and was raised here his entire life, graduating from Jackson Memorial High School in 1999. From there, Sergeant Karinian attended Ocean County College in 2001, where he graduated with an associate's degree in criminal justice. Alex began his law enforcement career in 2000 as an auxiliary police officer with the Jackson Township Police Department and was hired as a full-time officer in 2003. Alex has a bachelor's degree in individualized studies and a master's degree in administrative science from Fairleigh Dickinson University. He's been a member of the department's special response team and Ocean County SWAT regional team and is currently a team leader on the Jackson Special Response Team since 2005. Alex is also part of the sniper pool for Ocean County, as well as Jackson Township Special Response Team. In 2011, Alex became a firearms instructor for Jackson and Ocean County Police Academy. In 2012, Alex responded to Long Beach Island and Barnegat Lighthouse in response and support of Sandy relief efforts. In 2019, Alex received the award of Officer of the Year. In 2020, he was transferred to Special Division Services, and then in 21 was promoted to sergeant and remained in the division. Alex is supported by his wife Shayna and son Landon. He enjoys traveling and being at the beach. He also enjoys watching his son sail. Alex would like to give credit and thanks to the retired legends of Jackson PD for guiding and shaping his career. He would also like to acknowledge the current officers that will continue to keep the forward momentum going. Alex pledges to always stay grounded, I like this one, avoid the lollipop of mediocrity, and keep hashtagging. Congratulations. Shayna.
There you go. Thank you. There, we got them all right there.
You guys hold it.
Thank you. Please repeat after me. I state your name for the record.
I, Sergeant Alex Karinian,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform the duties as lieutenant
perform the duties as lieutenant
for the Jackson Township Police Department
for the Jackson Township Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And he brings it back. And he brings it back.
We're going to do the introductions of our new officers now. Will Tristan Terranova please come up? Right there. Tristan Terranova grew up in Jackson Township, New Jersey, and is a proud graduate of Jackson Liberty High School, class of 2018. I'm feeling old. As a student athlete, he competed on both the varsity wrestling and golf teams, demonstrating discipline and dedication early on. Following his high school, Tristan attended East Carolina University, earning over 60 college credits towards a bachelor's degree. In September 2018, he enlisted in the United States Army National Guard and graduated advanced individual training as an honor graduate. Through his military service, Tristan has exemplified leadership and commitment. He served as a squad leader during 2 state active duty missions in response to hurricane and tropical storm relief efforts. His service has been recognized with multiple commendations, including 2 Army Reserve Components Achievement Medals for honest and faithful service and the Army Achievement Medal for outstanding leadership during annual training in June of 2023. Additionally, he has received 4 challenge coins in recognition of his excellence, valor, and dedication to duty. Outside of his military and professional commitments, Tristan enjoys spending quality time with the family and friends. He is passionate about golf, enjoys snowboarding in the winter, and is a proud Philadelphia Eagles fan. Oh boy. Tristan is especially grateful for the unwavering support of his loved ones, including his mother, Lisa Terranova, and his girlfriend, Jillian Heinrich. He is honored to continue serving the community in his new role as a police officer. Next up is Joseph DeRosa. Joseph DeRosa was born in 2001 in New Brunswick, New Jersey. In 2002, his family moved to Jackson, where they have resided for 23 years. He graduated Jackson Memorial High School in 2019. While attending Jackson Memorial, Joe was a member and captain of the men's lacrosse team. Because of his lacrosse play, Joe received a scholarship to Dominican University, where he earned his bachelor's degree in health science. Joe will soon be a member of the 109th Monmouth County Police Academy starting this July, with a graduation date in December. Joe's a man who leans on his faith, family, and friends. He wants to personally thank his mom, Dawn, his dad, Joe, and his brother, Matt, for being the foundation of his life. They make his life complete, and he is a proud son and brother. Joe is blessed to be in this situation and is appreciative of everyone who has helped him along this journey. He wants to thank everyone in the Jackson Township Department for their service and for giving him his special opportunity. Joe looks forward to serving his community, establishing lifelong friendships, and making a positive impact on this world. Jake Green. Jake is a lifelong resident of Jackson, New Jersey, with a deep-rooted commitment to serving his community. A 2018 graduate of Jackson Liberty High School, Jake was a dedicated 4-year student athlete who played baseball, learning early on the values of teamwork, discipline, and perseverance. Following graduation, Jake began his professional career with the Jackson Township Municipal Utilities Authority, starting in meter reading and working his way into the maintenance department. There, he took pride in contributing to the upkeep and operation of vital township services, an experience that further instilled in him the importance of public service. Jake is deeply grateful for the unwavering support he has received from his loved ones throughout his journey, especially his parents, whose guidance helped shape him into the man he is today, and his girlfriend, Livia, whose ambition motivates him. He extends special thanks to SRO Colin Manafra, who's standing in the back there, whose inspiration guided him toward a career in law enforcement. As he begins his career in law enforcement, Jake begins a strong work ethic, a sense of responsibility, and gratitude for the opportunity to serve. He is proud to join the Jackson Township Police Department and is committed to protecting the community he calls home. Stephen Beto. Stephen was born in Long Branch, New Jersey. He grew up with a strong passion for sports and education, which carried him through his years at Jackson Memorial High School, where he graduated in 2022. During his time at Jackson Memorial High School, Stephen dedicated himself to athletics and proudly earned 12 varsity letters in soccer, basketball, volleyball, and track and field. Sports taught Stephen discipline, time management, and the value of teamwork, lessons that continue to shape his life today. After high school, Stephen received a full academic and athletic scholarship to Rider University, where he competed in track and field for 3 years, and the team achieved the MAC Conference Championship 6 times. While balancing the demands of a student athlete, Stephen pursued a degree in criminal justice, a field that has always interested Stephen for his real-world impact and potential to make a difference. Stephen plans on completing his bachelor's degree at Rider this year and is excited at the opportunities that lie ahead. Throughout Stephen's journey, the one constant has been the unwavering support of his family and friends. Their encouragement has been a major part of his success, both in classroom and on the field. Whether it was cheering on the sidelines, being there for the tough times, or simply being there to talk. In Stephen's free time, he likes to enjoy and relax with friends and family, watching TV and playing video games. These activities keep him grounded and remind him of what truly matters in life. Stephen looks forward to what the future holds with the support system behind him in every step of the way. Lance Hobbs. Lance is a Jackson, New Jersey native and a 2020 graduate from Jackson Memorial High School, where he was a varsity wrestler. After high school, in a commitment to his country, he joined the United States Marine Corps. Lance served active duty for 4 years as an infantry rifleman, specializing in weapons systems and close-quarter combat, most notably serving as part of Operation Allies Welcome, a humanitarian mission led by the Department of Homeland Security to support the resettlement of Afghan refugees after the Taliban took over Afghanistan. Lance also deployed to Okinawa, Japan, and the borders of South Korea, where he and his unit trained over 250 South Korean Marines in infantry tactics and techniques. Lance has received numerous awards during his military time, including the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal for outstanding leadership and meritorious service. Making his return home to Jackson just a short few months ago, Lance now plans on following his father's legacy as a law enforcement officer and his commitment to Jackson today. In his free time, Lance enjoys staying in shape, going to Yankees games, catching up with the family, and coaching his little brother's Little League team. Ariana Broughton. Ariana has proudly lived in Jackson for her entire life. In 2023, she graduated from Jackson Liberty High School, where she earned her spot on the varsity basketball team and served as team captain for 2 years. Ariana became only the second female player in the school's history to score over 1,000 points and receive the Most Valuable Player award for 2 consecutive seasons. Currently, Ariana is pursuing a dual bachelor's degree in criminal justice and communications with a minor in political science at Rutgers University. Outside of academics, Ariana served as a Girl Scout for nearly 10 years. She participated in local roadside cleanups, toy drives, and making gifts to the elderly and less fortunate. Ariana is also an active member of the New Beginning Agape Christian Center Church in Freehold, New Jersey. In her free time, enjoys traveling, reading, and any outdoors activities. In 2024, Ariana began her law enforcement career in the Long Branch Police Department after successfully completing training at the Monmouth County Police Academy. She graduated as a Class 1 with the 48th class of Special Law Enforcement Officers. As a Class 1, Ariana's responsibilities included traffic and parking enforcement, crowd control, and beach patrol. She also learned the importance of building a strong relationship with the community and can't wait to do so in the town where she grew up. And Ariana would like to thank her former basketball coach, Coach Haran, for always believing in her and pushing her to succeed. She also extends her gratitude to Lieutenant Cahill, Sergeant Levy, and Corporal Rodriguez for giving her the opportunity to begin her law enforcement journey in Long Branch and for their guidance and membership that taught her many valuable lessons. Most importantly, Ariana would like to thank her family for their constant love and support, especially her father, William Broughton, who recently retired after 42 years in law enforcement. His strength, guidance, and love for God continues to inspire her every day. Ariana is both proud and excited for the opportunity to protect and give back to the community she always called home. Her dedication to service reflects a legacy of leadership and commitment that she is honored to carry on forward. Will the family members who are going to hold the Bible please come up?
Good job. That worked out well.
Okay, would everybody raise their right hand? Thank you. Please repeat after me. I state your name for the record. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties as a police officer for the Township of Jackson according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Arena and the administration and the council for the continued support that they give this police department. We've been doing a lot of work and trying to grow this department and get us forward to meet the needs of the township as we're exploding. So I want to thank them profusely for all the support that they give us. These 6 new hires are going to be a great addition. Just so everybody knows, I've been authorized to do 4 more, so we're in the process of hiring 4 more officers on top of what we have here tonight. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I also want to extend condolences to the Sergeant family from the Jackson Township Police Department and our family. Scott was a good friend. He was a good man. He was straightforward, a little gruff at times, but he was a good man. And he said it like he saw it. And he was very supportive of this agency. So my condolences from our family to your family. Have a good night.
Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Congratulations, men and women. never did my. Let's go, man.
They better enjoy it, because one day when you're not council president, we're not going to be big.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next item
Okay.
on the agenda is the small business recognition. Council President Kuhn?
Yes. Thank you. So tonight our presentation is to Faded Crown Barbershop. Congratulations being the named Small Business of the Month for April 2025. Your dedication to excellence and commitment to the community exemplifies the spirit of entrepreneurship in Jackson Township. We appreciate your contributions and wish you continued success. So I just want to say, I don't know the owner. I've met him before. I believe he goes by Jay. You were recommended by, of course, our councilman, our police department, members of our police department, and our DPW. So I think there is a lot of people within the township that utilize your barbershop. So Councilman, would you like to say anything? Paul Mary? Thank you.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize our April Small Business Highlight, Faded Crown Barbershop. Owned and operated by Jay, Faded Crown is more than just a barbershop. It's a place where community and craftsmanship come together. Jay and his team are not only talented professionals, but they are also incredibly welcoming, creating an environment that makes every customer feel like family. We are proud to honor Faded Crown for their dedication, passion, and the positive impact they continue to have here in Jackson. Congratulations to Jay and his amazing staff.
If you could come up and get your plaque.
You give them. You know, we'll do something. Yes,
Congratulations.
So we'll go to opening comments, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. We now hear opening comments from the Township Council, starting with Council President Kuhn.
Good evening, everyone. Well, everyone left, but who's here? Before we begin tonight's meeting, I want to take a moment to reflect on what truly special Memorial Day parade we had yesterday. It was an honor to be in attendance and to stand alongside so many members of our community as we pay tribute to the brave men and women who gave their lives to serve our country. Thank you, everyone who helped make such a great event meaningful and memorable for Jackson Day. Let's carry the spirit of unity and gratitude with us as we move forward tonight. I do have to ask, all right, so this is what I do have to ask, that all contractors working on our town remind their employees to abide by the traffic laws in Jackson and our local roadways. I am getting so many calls of trucks and companies from the construction that's going on that are going through neighborhoods and driving. We are currently experiencing issues with trucks traveling on roads that are clearly marked as restricted to vehicles over 4 tons. Despite the signage, these trucks continue to use prohibited roads, residential roads. Please respect our road signs. Our residents should not have to hear heavy trucks driving up and down their streets in quiet neighborhoods. If any resident is experiencing this, please send me an email with the company name, and if you could send me a picture, I will personally call the contractor myself. Thank you and have a good night. But seriously, we are having an uptick. We're well aware of it. We are trying to work on it with traffic safety. I know that it's, in a couple roads is getting a lot of it. So we are working on that. Thank you and have a great night.
Council Vice President Bernstein.
Thank you, Clerk. I see the officers left, but I just want to take a moment and thank Director Candido and our entire police department for all their continuous work on behalf of Jackson. As everyone is unfortunately aware, this past Friday morning, there was a terrible tragedy on Hope Chapel Road where 3 young teenagers were sadly killed. I just want to take a moment and thank our emergency personnel, our police department, our EMS, our fire department, all the volunteers from Chaverim and Atzala who came out at the early hour. And our prayers are with the one teenager who's still ill. And really just, I know Director Candido was out there, I think it's 6 a.m. Friday for many, many hours. There was great communication with all the private bus vendors in the public school system, making sure all the buses were rerouted. Students still got late to school, but everyone did their best on that morning. And we appreciate the sensitivity that everyone displayed over there, and really the leadership that the director, together with the chaplains on scene, really displayed. In following up on that, I received an email today. I just wanted to read it. It was a letter. I was asked to forward this to the police department. I didn't get a chance to yet. I will hopefully forward it tonight or tomorrow morning to the director. I'm going to leave some names out. Good afternoon, Councilman. We'd like to express our sincere appreciation to the Jackson Police Department. On Friday evening, 5/16, our son, a minor, was hospitalized in the New York City hospital. Being that we are Orthodox Jews and Sabbath observers, the medical personnel were unable to reach us by phone. They contacted this teenager did not live at home. They contacted the Jackson Police Department to assist them by informing us in person. The officers who responded were extremely compassionate and sympathetic. Most notably, they tried very hard to accommodate our needs as Sabbath observers. They offered to make the various phone calls, hold the phone for us, tried to arrange a taxi, and altogether were extremely easygoing and understanding of our situation. We'd like to commend the officers, and unfortunately, I got the names, but I forgot to plug it into this email, so I can't read their names, for the professionalism and compassion, especially in this challenging situation. And I really just want to take a moment. I know something that the Director Candido about community policing, and when the police department has such a great relationship with the residents, it really leads to a safer town. So thank you, Director. Thank you to the entire police department. And hopefully the police department with their new hirees can just be out directing traffic and not have to clean up any more accidents. Have a wonderful evening.
Councilman Borelli.
Sorry about that. Just the second time that's happened. So, thank you. Congratulations to Lieutenant Crinian and the new police officers who took their oaths of office tonight. Very impressed with their stories and their backgrounds. I want to also congratulate Director Candido on a very fine class of officers, and I have no doubt that they'll do a great job for our police department, and all the best to them in their careers. And we thank them for wanting to serve as law enforcement officers and keeping our great town of Jackson safe and secure 24/7. We have some township events coming up that I wanted to share with you and with the residents of our town. Jackson's never short of having different things to do, and especially with the summer coming up. Our township summer concert series starts next Thursday, June 5th, with the Remedy Band in Johnson Memorial Park from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Of course, weather permitting. Hope we get great weather for our concerts. Please bring your lawn chairs. Food trucks will be on site. Other concerts will be held on other Thursdays. This year, I know last year they were held on Wednesdays. And those other Thursdays are June 19th, July 17th, August 7th, and August 21st are when concerts are going to be held. And also, they started last year, the Recreation Department did with the Farmers Market. It started already. It's going to be continue to be held in the Justice Complex and will be held every Thursday. Of course, weather permitting. That's another outdoor event. Farmers Market will be held from now until September 4th from 2 to 7 p.m. And there's always something, as I mentioned before, for our fellow residents and visitors to do in Jackson, and thanks to our dedicated township staff when it comes to planning and organizing those events. And more information about those events and others can be found on the Jackson Township website at the recreation page. Good seeing you all, and safe drive home. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Palmieri?
Thank you. So I would like to take a moment and address a concern that I know is a concern to many residents. And I want to take a moment and explain how Jackson Township is already equipped to deal with this situation. And that situation is illegal multifamily rentals in single-family homes. or single-family neighborhoods. We have two strong ordinances in place. Chapter 244, zoning. This prevents homes from being used illegally as multifamily residents in single-family zones. If a property is being misused, the township can issue violations, pursue court action, and require the illegal use to stop. And Chapter 234, housing standards. This ensures rental homes are safe and livable. If a home is overcrowded or unsafe, the township can inspect it, issue fines, and if necessary, require it to be vacated. If you suspect illegal renting in your neighborhood, report it to code enforcement or the zoning office. You do not need proof. You don't need to prove it. Just raise the concern and the township will investigate. And please copy your council members and administration on the email so we can follow up and help ensure the issue is being addressed. And we are committed to protecting the integrity of our neighborhood and making sure that the laws already on the books are being enforced. I had a resident email me about a week ago with a concern, and I forwarded it to code enforcement. And I'm very pleased to say within 3 days, they got back to me. They were addressing the issue. And the resident today emailed me thanking me for getting involved and that the issue is already starting to resolve itself. So let's work together. We need the residents' input so we can stop what we see as illegal renting in neighborhoods that, or in single-family homes. And I think we could do it together. And if anyone tells you that council is trying to get in the way of code enforcement or zoning, that is fake news. We're working with them and we're trying to resolve these issues, and we need the input of our town so we can continue to do so until everyone is following the law. Thank you.
Councilman, can I add to that? Because I think that's a great statement, because we've been talking about this for how many months? 4 or 5, Councilman?
6.
6 months we've been talking about this, and we've been going back and forth. And I'm glad that we have a united council that is looking into this problem with the rental. I've asked code enforcement, and I've got harassment charges put on me, and that's the truth, because I was asking them to be held accountable to do their job and to enforce ordinances that are already on the books. And I am so happy that you put that in your speech. And I was going to leave it tonight to not go against department heads because of, in remembrance of Scott. But I think Scott would be fighting with us for this because he was a true believer, and this just needs to stop. We already have the ordinances in places. We just need them to start being executed and held to the standards that they are. And we are looking, I want to just, I loved your email. Can you just elaborate on what you recommended for the fines? Because I would love everybody to hear it.
It was a little aggressive, but the point is,
I don't think so.
with Council President Cuny saying, and I want to give credit, I would like to give credit where credit is due. Within 72 hours last week, code, and I sent several emails, but code enforcement did get back to us. They did visit the property and fines were issued, and there is a resolution taking place. But yes, I was rather aggressive. I think it was over what the law allowed.
The third one was $10,000.
But we are looking at this aggressively because we know it's a major issue. We hear our residents and we are working towards it. So
Yes.
again, if anyone tells you otherwise, they're either misinformed or they're creating fake news.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that.
Council President, if I could just ask a question on
Absolutely.
that note also. There's been allegations that council has instructed code enforcement, and this might be a question for our legal team, not to enforce certain laws. In this form of government, does council have the ability to even go directly to code?
We absolutely do not. We cannot go to any department head without administration's approval. And it actually, there is emails that I have that I've actually been told that tickets are not going to be issued until administration tells them that they can issue tickets. And that's the truth. And summonses and violations. That is in my email. I mean, I think I've been Oprah before, so I think it could be.
And Council President, I just want to point out, I've been serving on this day since December of 23. I know of one time where I picked up the phone and actually emailed one of our department heads, and he forwarded the email to the mayor and asked for permission to speak
Absolutely.
to me.
And
it's
Mr.
something
Will
which
does
is
the same thing.
very strict.
100%, they abide by it. And if it's sent to the wrong department, we do get a lot of, it's not me, it's not me, it's not my department, it's not my department. So whose department is it? Okay, so I'll put everybody on the email. I don't care. We actually did have the building department went out to a property that we got complaints about, and he actually, Mr. Wilton, he went out there on Memorial Day and went and shut it down. So, but it was at code enforcement. Code enforcement said, it's not me, it's them. And then you get building says, it's not me, it's them. So we do get a lot of that. But we'll just sit there and keep sending emails.
So,
We're more than happy
so
to-
Council President, I guess just for the residents to know, there's two ways that council could know about an issue. One is we have an oversight, which we have the right to request documents, which we've done vigorously and tremendously. I've read through thousands of documents over the past couple months. But
Literally thousands.
Yeah. Additionally, we also, if someone CCs us on the email, then we're notified of the issue. We can definitely ask a department head by CCing the mayor or Ms. Novak, and hope that they take it
And then
seriously.
they have to get it.
But we hope to get to a point where people don't have to CC elected officials in order to have their issues resolved.
100%. Thank you. I do appreciate you bringing that up, because I did say, we wanted to keep it about Scott, but I'm glad that you did.
And
because
again,
it needs
just
to be
for the
open.
residents, it's Ordinance 244 and Ordinance 234. Call your zoning, call your code, and CC us, and we will make sure we follow up.
And we are looking into additional meetings with having annual inspections through fire, not the fire department, but within code, to have officers do for all rentals. So we are working on that. Again, I've been working on it for a while along with the rest of the council. Takes a lot, but we are adhering to it. It's not that we're ignoring any issues.
So Councilman, if I could just ask for a second,
Yeah.
because I think it's important during the budget process and budget season to talk about that.
Yes.
There's also been, I guess, various rumors and allegations that this council wants to completely gut code enforcement, which is just, again, fake news.
Fake news.
I think council is looking at resolving some of the issues. There's been multiple emails and complaints about certain issues in town. We'd rather have departments that are solely focused on those issues to resolve them. For example, we both had meetings with our code department in the past month about,
Correct.
and it's something that they're on board with, about allocating and giving certain officers training to focus on these rentals.
Yes.
So they have a way of getting in there on a yearly basis and seeing if one house is actually 3 families. When I was sitting there with the head of code enforcement, I mentioned that I took a walk on Saturday and I passed 3 houses that no questions
No
to
questions
me
at all.
were more than one. And he said to me, so why don't you email it to me? And I said,
Isn't
I
that
don't
your
think that's
job?
my job
Yeah.
to be a code enforcement officer. I don't think it's the residents that they have to give us a list. I think it's the job of the department. So we definitely support, and again, thank you,
And then-
Councilman, for bringing it up.
Just want to elaborate since we're on it, and this is like a huge passion of mine, as you can see. So I pulled the name out of a hat, and I can't say who it was, but I pulled the name out of a hat, and I did a GPS tracking, I did a time card tracking, and I did a violation writing on this code enforcement officer. The person wrote 5 tickets, 2 of which were walk-ins, 5 tickets in 30 days, was driving every day and leaving work an hour early. Every single day, driving around, leaving the car running for up to almost 3 hours of idle time. And if that's not like something that you guys find, I have a problem with that. And then, I brought it up to department head, and he was like, well, they're driving around looking for possible violations. I'm like, I could turn in a 360 and find 5 violations on any street. So it's definitely that's not the answer, my friend.
So
We're
again,
just-
Council President, I
we
don't
can
think,
do this
and I
all
think
day.
we're hopefully, we're going to be working on the budget in the next meeting or
We
two.
do have the CFO coming and the auditor coming to the next meeting to do a Q&A for the budget.
Right.
I'm gonna announce
And
that
that's
now.
definitely something that we are working on within specifically code enforcement, making sure that if we're getting these various complaints, that the code enforcement is putting the resources to where the complaints are, not just spending time and money on the streets. But again, it's not about code enforcement, but thank you, Councilman, for bringing it up.
Thank you. Little rant, but thank you for bringing that up. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. The next item of business is the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 2025-14, introduced on May 13, 2025. Ordinance 2025-14, amending Chapter 3, 101.1, entitled Director of Public Safety. At this time, if any member of the public has any comments to make, please address at the microphone, state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Motion approved.
Hi, Donnie Edelman, Willow Point Drive, Jackson. Before I assume anything, is this in regards to either memorializing or expanding the powers of our police director, Candido? Is he going to be the Director of Public Safety?
He
He already is.
he already
He
is.
already is. Okay, is there morality and I guess, not bringing shame upon the department clause in his employment agreement?
Not bringing, I'm sorry.
Is there any sort of morality or not bringing shame to the department? not
Council
causing-
President, I think
He's bringing the morality up.
No, you could say that, but
I can say it because I'm the liaison to the police department. I've been for 2.5 years, and I do talk to them, and they are
you
very
remember
happy.
me asking about who can make changes over at the Justice Complex? Well, that's because, remember I sent the entire board, all right, Mr.
Go ahead.
Palmieri was not here at the time, but I sent the entire board an email in regards to my issues when I was filming over there. And you
Yes.
told me that the only person that can make changes is Chief Coons if he gets authorization from Mayor Reyna. Spoke to Mayor Reyna, he didn't give authorization. I just
I
spoke
don't-
to Chief Coons, he didn't give authorization. This guy right here, because he didn't like me filming, and it's
This-
sickening on the week of Memorial Day. when
I'm sorry,
everybody's throwing
Mr.
up.
Adelman, this has nothing to do with the ordinance. If you want to come back to our public,
He's not qualified to be doing it, and
he is qualified. And
Oh,
he
really?
is- Yeah.
Mr. Edelman, this is a hearing on an ordinance which makes an amendment to the ordinance itself. If you want to comment on any of that portion of the ordinance amendments,
yeah, you
this
should
is the
add a
time to do
morality
so.
clause.
This is not about him, it's about an ordinance, whether he's
Okay,
there or
well,
someone else.
for
Let me
him-
finish, please. Let me finish, please. This is time to comment on the ordinance amendment. That's it. You can come
Okay.
back afterwards and speak during
Well, I'll tell
general
you
public
what,
comment.
for all public safety directors now and in the future, please add a morality clause to their employment agreements. So that this way, when they're doing things like abusing people, cheating on people and everything's like that.
Sir, that has nothing to do with the ordinance.
Well,
Please,
no,
I'm
but
asking, I
when
give you the
it's- when
respect.
it's
Could you
being
please give me-
broadcast on Facebook all over town and certainly thousands of people are now aware of what's going on, it doesn't look good on our town.
Thank you, sir.
See you later.
Bye. No, sir.
On the ordinance.
I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-14?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes, and thank you, Attorney McGuckin, for fixing this ordinance.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Motion approved. The next item of business is the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 2025-15, introduced on May 13th, 2025. Ordinance 2025-15, amending and supplementing Chapter 244 of the Township Code of the Township of Jackson entitled Land Use and Development Regulations as to amend 244-32 entitled Performance, Safety, and Stabilization and Temporary Certificate of Occupancy Guarantees, and 244-34 entitled Approval of Performance Guarantees. At this time, if any member of the public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 5 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public comment?
Motion to open?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Hi, Hope Drew. Just a quick question.
Just your town or street, or
Can you hear? I know it's annoying. Just so I can understand.
you just got to state where you live or your
Oh,
town.
no, Jackson.
Jackson, that's
Okay. I just want to read it real quick. So it says, performance, safety, stabilization, and temporary certificate of occupancy guarantees. What does that all mean? In layman's terms, what does that mean?
This is for the clerks. This is what we're doing is we're moving everything that should be out of the clerk's office, out of the clerk's office, and this is going to be with the engineer, correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Yes, so we're getting, the clerk has, you're going to see in the first readings today, 3 of them are
Okay.
all bonds and stuff. All this stuff has been in the clerk's office and it shouldn't be in the clerk's office, so we're moving it into the proper department. So it's not really if you're looking at temporary certificate of occupancy,
Yeah.
it's not like a CO.
Not what we're.
No, it's not, no.
That's why I came up
I
and
know.
asked.
Okay.
Okay.
You
thanks.
could have just texted me.
Council business. Seeing no one else come forward, make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-15?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes, and I want to take a moment and thank the clerk for working very hard and cleaning up and, again, to remove, I guess, some of the power from the clerk's office to other departments, which is, I guess, goes against what everyone says about us on Facebook.
Thank you. Council President Kuhn?
I just want to reiterate, thank you for cleaning up and putting things into the hands where they belong and not everything into a micromanaged situation, and let people do their job that are being paid to do their job. So, thank you. Yes.
Motion approved. The next item of business is second reading and public hearing of ordinance 2025-16, amending and supplementing Chapter 244 of the Township Code entitled Land Use and Development Regulations, Article 7, Pinelands Area Requirements. At this time, if any member of the public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 5 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public comment?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Eleanor Hannum, Jackson, New Jersey. I'm quite curious about how you decided to revise the original 30-23 ordinance that you can no longer find on the website where all the other ones are in 2023. But what I do find very, very interesting is that the wording, it's kind of legalese, the fact that you're using notwithstanding throughout the entire ordinance, leaving this to interpretation, not binding a specific requirement, and why. The wording of this ordinance, with notwithstanding this requirement, only means that it can be interpreted however the developer or the planning zoning boards wish. This also opens to interpretation that it's kind of biased when it comes to a residential property and a assembly or a house of worship. The other thing that I discovered in here is that there's many elements that have been removed or tweaked. The height for houses of worship may exceed 50 feet, and you took out the requirement that once it goes over the original 35 feet requirement, they're supposed to add another 2 feet of, the setbacks. That was taken out. The Pinelands Village, the RG2, the RG3, instead discriminates against other types of uses by holding those establishments to the standard and the specific criteria. So therefore, favoring a house of worship, a private school, dormitories on a different level as a commercial use. So the entire premise of the consent order was to bring assembly uses on a same level. What you're doing here is now discriminating against a commercial operation or an assembly. And this is just mind-boggling to me. What I also will just make note, because I do have the Pinelands letter of the requirements when they did deny your ordinance 3023. And one of the things that it says in here, which is not addressed, is the RD1 zone in the Pinelands. It permits a maximum height of 50 feet for houses of worship. The RD1, and I'm quoting right from the Pinelands Commission, the RD1 zone is located in a Pinelands rural development area. The comprehensive master plan for the Pinelands limits the height of structures in the rural development area to 35 feet, unless otherwise exempt. And the state statute is very clear. It also states that the lot size requirements for single-family dwelling units are quite different than non-residential development areas. I would like to question or wonder, where is the density and the intensity of use? Because as we can see, there is absolutely no density limits. The impervious, the total impervious requirement is not there. So therefore, they can basically blacktop everything. And you can tweak your head, but this is all from an attorney that reviewed it. Basically, isn't this township opening itself up to litigation for discrimination? Because it is favoring one type of use over another type of use. Therefore, it's completely discriminatory. Therefore, other types of uses are bound by setbacks in different requirements, where the uses that you're permitting here, houses of worship, private schools, dormitories, they have a different requirement, notwithstanding, which is legal wording for interpretation. So, again, when, and I will quote, when the ordinance refers to a minimum lot area, 3.2 acres, notwithstanding this requirement, no minimum lot area for a non-residential use shall be less than that needed to meet the water quality standards. So again, there's no density, there is no intensity of use.
Thank you. Sure, absolutely.
I think it's important that the public be aware of the impact and the purpose of this ordinance. So, as I'm sure all the public is well aware, this ordinance was negotiated as part of the settlement of the township's litigation with the United States Department of Justice, as well as private action plaintiffs, and to a certain extent, the New Jersey Attorney General's Office and the New Jersey Division of Civil Rights. I think everybody who was involved with this at the time, and in fact, I'm confident that I provided counsel on this in private and in public, that any changes to the ordinances with respect to the Pineland zones would be subject to Pineland's review. Fortunately, unfortunately, the New Jersey Pinelands Commission will not provide an advisory opinion, meaning that as we are going through the negotiations process, and even prior to the township reviewing and acting on these ordinances, the Pinelands Commission said it's not within the scope of their authority to issue an advisory opinion, and they're not permitted under their enabling statute to give guidance or recommendations on what may or may not be approved until after the municipality has acted. We certainly advised both the court, both the Department of Justice, the New Jersey Attorney General's Office, the private action plaintiffs, the Township of Jackson, that there was a chance that upon review, the Pinelands Commission may say, hey guys, we have some issues with this ordinance, and we're going to seek some revisions, which is exactly what happened. And so, it's important to understand what the Pinelands Commission's concerns were and where they arise from. So the Pinelands Commission obviously is a state entity, and its authority arises from state statute. And there are state statutes that govern the scope of their authority, how the Pinelands Commission can act, and also setting forth what can and cannot be done within the designated Pineland zones. And so upon initial submission to the Pinelands Commission for review, the Pinelands identified some points that they said that they felt the township and the various parties involved needed to revisit to bring into compliance with the Pinelands Comprehensive Management Protocols. The first was lot sizes for houses of worship in RD1. Second was height limits with respect to houses of worship in RD1. There were minimum lot size requirements for both schools, primary and secondary, and higher institutions. There were minimum lot sizes as it had to do with conditional uses for dormitories or residential accessory uses. There were concerns with lot sizes for student and faculty residences. There were also questions about Pinelands development credits that they wanted to be addressed, and they wanted clarity on the difference between how wastewater management would work for the different types of uses. One of the more significant issues they raised was that under their enabling statutes, there was a difference between accessory or conditional and what can be accessory and what can be conditional uses, as opposed to what the township is permitted to do under its municipal ordinances. And so that is a lot of what we've dealt with over the following, last year and a half, as far as addressing these issues. And what's resulted from that, I could say from a big picture, is that within the Pineland zone, the dormitory use has to be accessory as opposed to conditional. And that's going to put certain more stringent requirements on an applicant as far as being able to merge the properties or have them be on the same property. The density issue was addressed through the requirement. Now, and again, I'll say this, when you look at the ordinance that we're enacting tonight, you're going to see that a lot of the changes have to do with the septic size and with approval for the amount of land, and that's how density is addressed. And so Pineland said, hey guys, even though we understand that the county or the state may have certain standards that are in place that ultimately an applicant has to comply with, we're asking and we're directing that you include those standards within your ordinance. And so the township did. The township also, with respect to the Pineland zone, has required that the dormitory uses are going to be accessory as opposed to conditional. And that's going to require changes in how the property is owned and how it's merged and the sizes of the property. The township reduced the maximum height in certain zones to be in accordance with state law. The township included in the ordinance adopting minimum acreage standards as it relates to septic systems. Because again, as this area, right, the Pinelands area, it's an area that is not on public sewer. So it's an area, these are areas that are going to be on septic. And so there was a requirement that we adopt minimum acreage sites as it related to the different type of septic systems that would be necessary to service those types of developments and enable those developments to be built. And so what occurred was back in late 2023, and I'm sure everybody remembers, there was a public hearing on this in which the public had the opportunity to comment on both the non-Pinelands and the Pinelands ordinances, and both were adopted by the township at that time. However, pursuant to state law, while both can be adopted by the township, the Pinelands ordinance would not become effective until it was approved by the Pinelands. So although adopted by the township, it was not effective because it wasn't adopted by the Pinelands yet. Over the last 18 months or so, we've been working with Pinelands to create an ordinance that satisfies the goals of the settlement agreement while also satisfying the concerns of the state of New Jersey and the Pinelands Commission, and preserving and maintaining their overall planning and development goals. And so now this ordinance that's before the council this evening on second reading is really a revision of the initial ordinance that was adopted. Now, while it was adopted and never effectuated, that sounds like a lot of legalese, but that's what happens when you're dealing with an agency that has ultimate approval authority. So we are revising the prior ordinance, which was 3023, with the provisions that are being set forth in this evening's ordinance. And the overall effect of this is to make higher standards. It's difficult. You say higher and lower. So that's probably not the appropriate language. The standards that are going to be put in place as a result of this ordinance will have the effect of making the development of really the residential component of any school slightly more difficult. The reality is that schools were permitted in the Pineland zones well before this ordinance was adopted, and this didn't really have much of an effect on that. But the Pinelands is concerned about density of residential uses and the intensity of uses, and the revisions that Pinelands has requested and that all the stakeholders in this negotiation agreed to have the overall effect of ensuring that that if there will be more intense uses or a higher density, that there will be sufficient amount of land to provide for that, that the stormwater and the septic plans will be sufficient, that the building heights will be reduced, and that the uses will be accessory as opposed to conditional. Certainly, this does not, and I think it goes without saying, the New Jersey Pinelands Commission would not approve an ordinance that left ambiguity and enabled developers to just build willy-nilly and do what they want, or left it open to a planning board or a zoning board. The Pinelands Commission is concerned about certainty and about ensuring that the standards set forth in the state statutes governing the Pineland zones are enforced. And we worked together, we worked collegially and collaboratively, and came to a result that is before the council this evening and will both enable the intent of the prior ordinance as well as protect the purpose of the state Pinelands ordinances. And it took a while, certainly did, but that's how we got here. And there's certainly no ambiguity here. There is no room for movement. There are very strict standards. Their standards relate to building height, to density. Use is not changed, except with respect to whether it's conditional or accessory. But the types of uses do not change. And in fact, if you went back to prior to 2023, schools were permitted in these zones. Houses of worship were permitted in these zones. There is actually a public school in the zone. What is before the council this evening, while certainly can be somewhat difficult to read because it can read like a combination of legalese and engineering, does represent a codification of Pinelands Commission's purpose, goals, and intent for the uses in their zone. So that's where we are, members of the council.
Thank you. Well said. No, it's still open.
I really didn't intend, hope true. I didn't intend on asking questions about this, but just sitting there. So I was trying to understand. When you talk about density and intensity of use, you're talking about new construction of houses of worship, or are you talking residential homes that turn into houses of worship? Because you still haven't defined that yet. Right, so if there's a
No,
development.
that's not true. You can make a statement. Just because you make a statement and then say you haven't done it doesn't make it true. So.
Oh, okay, has it been done
What we're
then?
talking about.
Well, excuse me.
No, ma'am.
Oh, we're off to a
Ma'am,
wrong
ma'am.
start already.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
How did that happen?
Whoa. So this is
Ma'am, you're
what,
entitled
How'd
to
that
your own
happen?
opinion.
so
You're entitled
let's,
to your own
if
opinion.
you're gonna talk for 5 minutes, he's not gonna answer, and then he's gonna answer, and then we're gonna end it.
Okay.
Because we're not gonna have,
Rudy.
well,
It's
however
offensive.
when you're done, just let me know you're done, and then the
Okay.
attorney-
Or are you defensive? Go ahead.
No,
No,
I mean,
you go,
you're-
ma'am, you
Oh,
go
I'm
first.
going.
Yeah.
So then
please.
correct me if I'm wrong. My issue, what I'm asking you is this, I'm just trying to follow because you realize that a lot of people don't understand any of this. You're discussing the density and the intensity of use of what not in the Pinelands? What are we talking about?
Of a residential accessory use.
Not a residential home?
No,
Okay.
there has been no change to that to single family use within the Pineland zone.
Okay, but when a house does turn into a house of worship, does the intensity of use come into
I
play
don't
there?
understand that question. That
Why don't
sounds
you
like
understand?
that sounds like you're asking a loaded political question, which is fine. You can do
Loaded
that. But if you have a
political
real
question.
question for me, I'll answer that.
a loaded political question. We're talking about uses right now. We're talking about
Well,
intensity
you can't-
uses. So I'm just
ma'am,
curious,
I imagine-
how is things
I imagine you're
defined then?
knowledgeable enough that you know that if somebody has a single-family residential home and they
Mhm.
wish to change it
Mhm.
to a house of worship,
Yes.
they can go file an application with
Oh,
the
I know that.
with the appropriate department. It will probably go before the appropriate land use board, and then it'll be adjudicated.
I'm talking
That's-
about when there is no process and no one has applied for a change
Well,
of
no,
use.
So that's not what this ordinance,
Okay.
this is going about the
All right,
ordinance. I'm
so
just
we're
going to
just
shut
talking
this
about
down.
this. Okay,
So,
fine.
okay, thank
We'll
you.
come back later.
Okay, thank you.
No, I know she is.
Hi, guys. I have a question about this.
Can you
too.
just give your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. I'm Dana. My name's Dana. I live on Bowman. I'm actually part of the Pinelands area. My question is, when was the actual meeting with the Pinelands? What day, what time? Because it's not matching up. It seems like the Pinelands refused. Hold on. They're saying they can't discuss the Pinelands and refuse to cross the Pinelands letter because they're, with everything with the properties. My thing is, what's the truth on the matter? Because
What's your
back
question?
a couple years, the properties, right? In Pinelands? Sorry, I'm getting
That's okay.
just a little
No.
nervous. I don't like public speaking.
That's fine.
That's why.
Just, you give me your questions, I'm going to write them down, and then the attorney will answer you. So go ahead.
Okay. I live in the Pinelands.
Yes.
When I came, when all this was happening, right, when we were going through the lawsuit, my house and all the properties on there are in there. My thing is, now they're being bought up. They're all LLCs. We are having problems, but I have never commented on it because I say to myself, my thing is, their LLCs, once they knock those down, or if they use those for worship and then build up, can they do that? Because my thing is, we're on wetlands. Where does the Pinelands have the meeting to say that they can actually build on wetlands over there?
So great question. So the Pinelands, we met with the Pinelands, not in a formal
Do you have a
meeting.
day and time though? Because
No, we've
I
met
tried
with them
looking
many
up this
times.
information and I can't find anything about it.
Well, no, because we did not, listen, the Pinelands Commission public meeting is not where we were meeting with the Pinelands. We met with their planners, we met their engineers, we met with their experts to go over this. Now, after this, if the council approves this ordinance, it will go before a public meeting of the Pinelands, probably at some point in June or July, most likely July, I suspect. And then the Pinelands would consider this revised version of the ordinance. Now, the second question you asked is if there's development in the Pinelands, and that's different, right? Because you're developing in the Pinelands, then
But the problem is,
even as
by
a
us,
developer, you
it's
have an
all
obligation
wetlands.
to go, but if you're a developer who's developing in the Pinelands, you have to obtain in certain circumstances Pinelands approval, right? Just because you have an ordinance that a municipality that's within the Pinelands passes, doesn't mean that you can automatically or always build there, because there may be other issues that would prevent that. These are ordinances that set forth, the 10,000-foot view on what can be done there, but every property is going to be different, right? If a property is wet,
But like you said, if they buy the property and they do a house of worship, right? Then they start building, they start buying the houses next door. They can knock down those houses and build up or go
I
wide. My
don't
problem
understand your
is
question.
the property is on here. When we lives in the Pine, I live over there. I have 3-something acres, right? Property next to me has 6. There's a lot of wetlands. You can't build on wetlands, and the water by us is getting, more water is coming in, okay? Now, if they build there, we're gonna have problems. That's what I'm
Attorney-
trying to.
If property is wet,
Attorney-
if it's subject to.
I want to make sure that that's not.
There's a
Yeah.
C, like, if you probably have a C1 over there, so that's like a 350-foot buffer. That doesn't change. This has nothing to do with that. So if you have wetlands, you can't build on wetlands.
Well,
Wetlands
that's what I
is
want
zone
to make
entity.
sure, because it seems like everything's changing and everyone's making their own rules. So I'm like, what are they
There
going to
is
do
no
about that?
Your house will sink.
There's no change here to any of the wetlands-related standards. And just so we're clear, all of the changes that are being proposed in this ordinance this evening, I would say are requiring that you have more space to build, not less, right? It's increasing the density, or you could say increasing or decreasing. You have to have more property to have more residential units, right? So you could say it's making it a higher standard. it's reducing the building height. Anytime you reduce building height, that means that you can't go as high, so you need to have more land to go out wide, right? That's that's the practical effect of these revisions that are in this ordinance this evening.
Attorney, can I just,
Let her
I'll
finish,
let her
'cause she's
finish.
almost done. Go ahead. You, You're-
can we stop the clock for a second? Council President?
Yeah.
Stop for 1 second. If I understand
stop it at
correctly,
30 seconds.
there was a meeting in like 2023 where residents came up with a list of properties that were which were in the, I think you were one of those residents.
I was one of those
Yes, I was in the
residents,
back
and that's
by
why I
that
was
meeting.
worried about that.
I think what the resident is asking, Mr. Pullman, is that she came and her property was obviously listed in that list. And people are buying up properties in the area, and she
And
wants to
that's
know how
exactly
that,
what's happening.
and she wants to know how that affects her property. And I think, if I could just paraphrase with not the legal words, and Mr. Pullman, correct me if I'm wrong, is anyone would still have to go in front of the appropriate authorities if they're dealing with wetlands or any other, people can buy whatever they want. It doesn't mean they can build whatever they want.
No.
There's a lot of misinformation. A lot of developers may be buying property, but it doesn't mean they could just build.
Well, the developers are doing that.
Yeah.
They're getting away with certain things. They are, and we know it. That's why I'm getting nervous, because now we have wetlands. Like, it's bad. It's
Yeah, I
very
know.
soggy. And if they are going to do this, because they're starting houses next to us, they're taking down, they're building stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, you can't even get a shed on, but they're able to do certain things. I'm like,
so what I'll do is I'll give you my card at the end of the meeting, and then you can email me your address and I'll send it. And we'll
Man,
get you
this ordinance in no way
it-
reduces, and it's fine, if you have more questions, you can ask me. This in no way reduces the requirements as to how it relates to a building on wet properties, the wetland buffers, the enhancements, anything like that. right?
okay, because looking at this, it says you can go like 35 feet high, right? That's why I'm like, wait a minute.
That's actually a reduction. It was originally higher because the standard was used as it applies to other areas, non-Pinelands areas of Jackson. And so it's being reduced to that because in the Pinelands, that's the maximum permissible height in those zones.
Yes, because it used to be 6 acres. Then I saw here that you can build, that has changed, a minimum lot of 3.2 acres. But I noticed that did change. It
So
used
that-
to be 6.
That's if you're going to have a conventional septic system, which that's in line with the county. So, well, let's say the county. This is one of the things that we said, Township always felt that standard was there because that's an outside agency requirement. Pineland said, we would like you to include that in your ordinance. And so that's included there as pursuant to Pineland's request. Although that standard has always existed, right? That if you're going to have a conventional septic system, your minimum acreage for that type of use would be 3.2. That's
I just want to elaborate. You can't have you have to have a special septic in the Pinelands.
Yeah.
So it's never going to, you just can't have it. You can't have just like a septic that's in, my neighborhood is not going to be the same that's in the Pinelands. They're a lot more money. They're a lot more, it's a more elaborate. So I just want to make sure that there's clarity on that it's in there. And if I'm wrong, they made you put it in there, but it's like, it's a catch-22 because it's not applicable to that side of town.
So what you're saying is it's not going to happen on that side of town?
No, on where you're saying in the Pinelands, in this ordinance, where it's applicable in this ordinance, you have Pinelands and all of them, so you can't just put a standard septic in there. So why it's in there, I guess I kind of.
That's why I was confused
yeah,
about
because
that.
They made them put it in, but it's.
Okay, so that
that's
has-
the accepted standard,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And so Pineland says that's what the county reviews. We want you to put that in.
So it's in there, but you have Pinelands, so you're not going to be able to use that septic. You're not going to get approved for it anyway.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Carlos Martins, Jackson, New Jersey. And I'm here as a resident, just a resident,
That's fine.
no free range. So I wasn't planning on talking about this, but it came up. So I'm actually fortunate enough that my home is on 7 acres. I think 4 of them are deemed wetlands. I learned all that after I bought the house. I didn't know, but looked into it. And there is confusion. Pineland doesn't mean it's wetland, and wetland doesn't mean it's pineland. And the rules around wetlands, let me tell you, it is horrible. I'm not horrible, sorry. It is very difficult. I can't build anything on it. I can't even cross to get to the other side of my property because I'd be crossing the wetlands, and supposedly you're not supposed to do that. So there is confusion, and I think that's probably why you hear a lot of the back and forth. But it is important for us, the residents, to understand the difference between pineland and wetland before we get into this. Anyway.
Yeah,
that's just
what's your
because-
question?
Yeah, that's just because I heard all the discussions that were going on. Specifically, though, so you mentioned about a document, legal ease and crazy stuff. Where could I get access to that to read it? This whole document that everybody's talking about, not the consent order.
It's on our website.
It is?
Mhm.
Is it there?
If you want to.
I'll check with the clerk. By the way,
Just-
the clerk is awesome.
Yes, I know.
Wow.
We're well aware.
Those, yeah. She
We
helped me
have
with
an
other
amazing whole
questions.
staff, and we're very, very
So-
excited.
Yeah, I'm getting.
Sir, when you're looking for it, the original, what I'll say original, the ordinance that's being revised tonight is ordinance 30-23.
Yeah, well,
And that's being done
Okay.
via ordinance
20.
2025-16.
Right.
Yeah, we'll send you both of them. We have the
Okay.
old one
And so as long
the
as I read
revised one.
those two.
Yes.
Right, I'll have that legal ease stuff
Yes.
figured, whatever, I'll read it. Okay, yeah. Because, yeah, I prefer to do that than watch the Knicks. So what am I going to do?
They just started, so they're going to win.
It's in my DNA. I can't help myself. Okay. The other thing is, you mentioned, I think, coming up, there will be a date which we will meet with. There'll be a meeting, like a public meeting, where we can attend with the Pinelands.
That has nothing to do with the ordinance. So I believe he was talking about something with the county, with the Pinelands, but that's not us. So this is our meeting. Do you have any questions pertaining to?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
But just to answer your question, sir, at some point, June or July, maybe August, but I suspect June or July, if the council votes to approve this ordinance this evening, it will go before the Pinelands Commission at their public meeting. They have one public meeting a month.
Okay.
And again, this, just like the prior, just like 30-23,
Yep.
this ordinance can be adopted by the township, but because it relates to the Pineland zones, until it's approved by the New Jersey Pinelands Commission, it is not effective and enforceable.
Right. So that meeting is critical for us because it impacts this
Correct.
ordinance.
That's why
that
we're
trying
here
to-
doing it again, because the last time
Right.
it wasn't approved,
So-
18 months ago.
I got you.
Yes.
All I'm trying to get is, when is that? Am I invited to that meeting with Pinelands?
No, we have nothing to do with it.
We have nothing to do.
You
with
could
it.
go. It's a public
I can't
mean.
go there and make a statement. It's not a public
Yeah.
meeting.
No,
You could.
It's a public meeting. It's just not here. It's not
No, I
here.
understand. So
We have
all
no
I want-
idea.
We don't
I want
know.
the date. I'd like to go.
We
I
don't
don't know.
We
I
don't know.
enjoy this stuff.
We don't know.
We don't know. If
We
I
don't
find
know.
out, I'll
Yeah.
let you know. I promise.
Okay.
I suspect it will be there June,
June, July, or
probably
August.
Probably July.
No.
Right.
Pinelands by September.
You'll notify. I won't have to go look somewhere on Google or something.
If
I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It would be.
It would be on the Pinelands website.
Yeah.
States.
Good evening. Edwin Kaufman. Originally, I wasn't going to speak on this, but I'm listening and I'm curious. Counsel, who do you represent in that matter that you're speaking of?
The Township of Jackson,
And where did you get your instructions from to go into those negotiations?
the
What
Township
what did
government.
Jackson Township require of you when you went into those negotiations for this land use?
This is comments
I
about
have
the
an-
ordinance.
It is. When I have an attorney that represents me,
Yeah,
he gets his instructions from me. I'd like to know who's the.
I know,
who
but this is
providing the
questions pertaining
instructions.
to the ordinance. If you want to come back at the end for open comment, you can come in and ask him who's
Well, this is
credentials.
about the ordinance.
This is questions pertaining to the ordinance.
If he was negotiating on behalf of Jackson,
That's
I'd
not
like to know
asking
where he
questions
got
about
his
the ordinance.
instructions to enter into those negotiations for this land use.
That's not a question about
Are you
the
talking- I mean,
ordinance.
so this
No?
was all done pursuant to a settlement agreement that was voted on by the council.
18 months ago.
Okay. And again, if he's representing Jackson, what instructions did he get to enter into those
That's
negotiations?
confident.
That would be administration. This is council. This
So
is
the administration,
legislation.
He's got his instructions from the administration.
That's where they get
And where
that.
can we find those
Sir,
instructions? that-
this is, I'll be more than happy.
Listen, if you have a question, ask it.
He
It
doesn't.
is, I'm asking.
Yeah, but
I'd
what's your
like to know what instruction you got to enter into those negotiations about that
So
land.
this is questions about the ordinance, and if you have any questions pertaining to the instructions that the legal
Should I
counsel
Oprah
got, absolutely,
Okay.
please.
And is that Oprah going to get answered, or are the records
We're,
going to be sent to me as no responsive records?
once you
They're
send the
legitimate
Oprah.
questions. If an attorney represents my interest as
Thank
a
you,
resident
sir.
of this
This is
town,
about the ordinance, okay?
and again, so is my question. Maybe it's not being understood, but if he's negotiating on behalf of Jackson, Jackson has a right to understand what instructions he's being given to go into.
And there's
those
nobody from
negotiations.
administration here. Do you see anybody from administration here? So we
I never
can't
see
answer
it
that
here.
question. I know. So then that's unfortunately, we can't answer it.
Well, there has to be somebody that could answer it at
Do-
some point.
Okay, and when
Otherwise,
you
he
send
shouldn't be
Oprah,
negotiating.
absolutely.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Seeing no one else come forward, make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-16.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Brawley.
Thank you, Clerk Martin. I stated my reasons at the last council meeting of why I was not supporting ordinance 16-2025. My overriding concern continues to be potential development in the environmentally sensitive Pinelands areas of our town. I voted no on a similar ordinance for the non-Pinelands area of our town, and I will continue to not support this in the Pinelands areas of our town, as I represent the entirety of our town. So I vote no on ordinance 16-2025.
Councilman Palmieri.
Just before I vote, Counselor, if this ordinance, and I asked this before with Mr. McGuckin, but I'm going to ask you since you've been on this, if this ordinance does not pass, what are the ramifications this evening for us with the state of New Jersey, et cetera?
So it would essentially be to say that we're not going to comply with the settlement agreement that the township had approved in the fall of 2023. When that settlement agreement with the Department of Justice, private action plaintiffs went through, this was one of the conditions of it. The settlement agreement set forth terms, it set forth financial obligations, it set forth certain oversight obligations, and one of them were that this ordinance, both the non-Pinelands and the Pinelands ordinance, be passed. And that settlement agreement did specifically have an exhibit which set forth the terms that would be ended up becoming this ordinance. Now, the reason why that ordinance wasn't included in that settlement agreement is because you can't adopt an ordinance via settlement agreement. You have to actually go through the ordinance process. So, Councilman, the effect would be to be telling the Department of Justice that we were not going to comply with a settlement agreement that we voted on in the fall of 2023 is the effect.
Okay, thank you. I would prefer not to put the town in that position. I vote yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein.
Yes, and if I could just ask another quick question, just because I got a couple phone calls about it. It's not really completely related to this ordinance, but just to clarify on the record. Part of the DOJ settlement included a fund that the town paid out to certain entities. The governing body, as in the council members, have anything to do with choosing which entities got those funds?
No, absolutely not.
How did those funds come about?
Well, the monies were deposited by the township, I guess the administration, into a designated account, and then the Department of Justice allocated where those monies would go. The extent that the council's involvement in that was that the council at the time insisted that we, on council's advice and recommendation, and that the monies not go to anybody who had sued the township. But wherever the monies were allocated to were completely decided by the United States Department of Justice, not by anybody in Jackson or in the state of New Jersey for that sake.
Okay, thank you. I vote yes.
Council President Kuhn.
I have to agree. I don't think I want to put the town at any more, open up any more lawsuits, so I'm going to vote yes.
Thank you. Motion approved. The next item of business is the first reading and introduction of ordinance 2025-17, amending and supplementing Chapter 372 of the Township Code of the Township of Jackson entitled Streets and Sidewalks, Article 5, entitled Street Vacation Procedure, as to amend 372-24A and B entitled Application Procedure. Council President Kuhn, are there any comments on ordinance 2025-17?
So this is continuing on what we had discussed before, cleaning up the clerk's office. These amendments aim to streamline the streets and sidewalk applications procedures, ensure that the township clerk maintains the official approved bond, and that the application forms are submitted directly to the township engineer.
Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council?
No, ma'am.
Ordinance 2025-17. May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-17 on first reading and introduction and to authorize the notice of public hearing to be held on June 12, 2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item of business is the first reading and introduction of ordinance 2025-18, amending and supplementing 372 of the Township Code of the Township of Jackson entitled Streets and Sidewalks, Article 3, entitled Street Openings, as to amend 372-11A through D entitled Prerequisites to Opening Streets, and 372 through 14A and B entitled Bond Requirements, Schedule of Estimated Costs. Council President Kuhn, are there any comments on ordinance 2025-18?
Yes. These amendments aim to streamline the street opening procedures and ensure that the township clerk maintains all official records. The application forms are to be submitted directly to the township engineer.
Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council?
I would just like to eventually look at this and get it when they open them up, make the contractors do the whole road instead of just opening up that space, but that's my own personal. That's all.
May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-18 on first reading and introduction to authorize the notice of publication to be held on June 12, 2025?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
The next item of business is the first reading and introduction of ordinance 2025-19, amending and supplementing 185 of the Township Code of the Township of Jackson entitled Excavation, Mining, and Dredging, as to amend 185-2A and 185-2E entitled Application, Licensing, and 185-6A entitled Bond. Council President Kuhn, are there any comments on ordinance 2025-19?
Yes. These amendments aim to streamline the excavation, mining, and dredging applications procedures to ensure that the township clerk maintains the official bond once approved, and the application forms are submitted to the township engineer directly.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council? I have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-19 on first reading and introduction to authorize the notice of the public hearing to be held on June 12, 2025.
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item of business is a first reading and introduction of ordinance 2025-20, establishing a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit for Grand Boulevard. Council President Kuhn, are there any comments on ordinance 2025-20?
Yes. At the request of the Jackson Township Police Department, the township engineer, T&M Associates, have prepared a study to address the speed limit on Grand Boulevard between Bowman Road and Veterans Highway. As a result of the study, the Jackson Township Police and the township engineer have recommended to the Township Council that a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit be established.
Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council?
No, ma'am.
May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-20 on first reading and introduction to authorize the notice of the public hearing to be held on June 12, 2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes. Sorry.
Thank you.
Our attorney just has a comment in regards to ordinance 2025-21 that he needs to read into the record, And then I am going to give him his own little thing to read, so we'll just let Mr. McGuckin do it.
After discussions with the township engineer this afternoon, I'm just going to change it to a right-of-way easement as opposed to a right-of-way deed of dedication. So the title will include public right-of-way easement, and the language of the ordinance in the bottom, in the body of it will indicate right-of-way easement as opposed to a deed of dedication. Ordinance 2025-21 authorizes acquisition for public right-of-way easement from the Jackson Township Board of Education for London Drive pursuant to NJSA 4812-4A. This ordinance, if adopted, would authorize the township to obtain a public easement for right-of-way purposes known as London Drive from the Jackson Township Board of Education and the Jackson MUA. Currently, the Jackson MUA has an access easement over this parcel from the Board of Education to their property. The same is being used as a public cut-through. As a public right-of-way easement, the township can establish appropriate traffic control, overseeing to ensure the public's health, safety, and welfare.
Thank you, sir. That's it, Madam Clerk.
Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council?
No, ma'am.
May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2025-21 on first reading and introduction to authorize the notice of the public hearing to be held on June 12, 2025?
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item of business is the payment and authorization of bills and claims. I would like to note the following abstentions. Councilman Borelli, AET01, DEL01, EYE02, NJS04, and STA28, and Council President Kuhn, RCS02. Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Council President, Clerk Martin, EYE01 instead of 02, please.
Thank you. EYE01.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So I just wanted to go into bills and claims. I've been looking over them and doing some due diligence in regards to spending. So there was the community passes is the one that I'm going through this bill period. Last one we had was Civic Plus. So now that recreation is with DPW, I did speak with Mr. Belinsky before the meeting because I didn't understand why we have $20,000 in bills and programs that do the same thing. So he gave me an explanation that we signed the contract for Civic Plus in November of 2024, but we've never used it. We've never actually wrote a check for it. Never used it. So they haven't even started it. They haven't even uploaded it. So we're hoping that happens. But now I'm like, why do we have Community Pass if they do the same thing? Because essentially they do everything. So Community Pass is outdated. So this is the last payment, and it actually, it kind of pays for itself. And they did show me, I did meet with the CFO and they did show me. So what I'd like to ask council, if, I don't know how we do this, but if we can reinstate the Civic Plus bill from last month, because this one, once this Community Pass is no longer going to be used, they're going to move forward to Civic Plus. So I don't know how that works, but I just think, and then we should no longer have a Community Pass bill. They were waiting, they didn't want to, with the season and the recreation and summer camp starting, they didn't want to take them out then and cancel the program without having, nobody knew how to use the new system. The new system is updated. Christian, I think you're working on it, right? Yes. So it's going to start with your department of IT and then it's going to move over to recreation? Okay. That's what Mr. Belinsky had said. So moving forward, so we're going, if we can put them back on, get everything paid to date, and then moving forward, we can integrate. And I believe the clerk's office is going to be looking into it as well. So I think a couple departments, so it will essentially pay for itself when we can have more than one user. So I just wanted to clarify that we did look into that and let council know that that was the findings, because I know they were kind enough to support me in tabling it last meeting, but I don't want to halt anything. So
Do we have
yes to the rest.
Do we have a PO number for that?
For the
The one
Civil
that was
Plus?
held last month? Yeah.
We do, yeah.
I would say do a separate motion on that since it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
Or on the current bill list, and then we'll do a motion on that PO
I don't have it on me right now.
I think a motion to pay it in accordance with the bill list
With
from last
accord-
month or last meeting would be
I'm gonna
appropriate.
let the attorney put it on the record for me.
Why don't we finish this vote first?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes to everything.
Thank you.
That was the only comment.
May I have a motion to approve the bills, lists, and claims with the abstentions noted?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes, with those abstentions that you had mentioned regarding my bills, vendor numbers.
Thank you. Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the invoice number 325961 in the total amount of $8,773.44 for Civic Plus?
Motion. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda listed for tonight's consideration are resolutions 183 through 193, 2025, listed by title. Council President Kuhn, are there any comments on the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
Are there any questions or comments by the Township Council?
No, ma'am.
May I have a motion to authorize the consent agenda resolutions 183 through 193, 2025?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Palmieri?
Yes.
Council Vice President Bernstein?
Yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
Thank you. At this time, if any member of the public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once. May I have a motion to open public comment?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Edward Kaufman again. I'm glad to hear discussions about code enforcement. I've got a huge problem with code enforcement, namely Andrew Cheney, the head of code enforcement, James Rand, the animal control officer, Maureen Van Brammer, an employee in animal control. I filed 28 criminal complaints against the 3 of them. All of my Oprah with animal control were obstructed. I hear conversations again after the last meeting about emails being answered by constituents. None of mine were answered. I've come to understand there's about 3 dozen documents from animal control that were kept from me. I still have not gotten them. I went so far as to take the ticket that they wrote me to municipal court, only to have Judge Mabee on the record tell me that the constitutional argument I was arguing was insufficient for his court because it was too small. In other words, my constitution stopped outside the doors of that courtroom. On the record, he told me that he couldn't entertain it. Animal Control Officer James Rand got on the stand and under my questioning perjured himself. I spent a lot of effort and time trying to get the records of the anonymous person that made a complaint about my animals that resulted in James Rand trespassing on my property, taking a photo of the back of my house, only for me to end up getting it in an Oprah request, having him get on the stand, deny any knowledge of it, and under questioning tell me that the complaint supposedly was anonymous. Upon further questioning, when I destroyed his answer, he went on to tell me that it possibly came in an email. I never got any email in my Oprah request. Andrew Cheney, James Rand, and his office targeted my house, wrote me summonses in retaliation. I took it to municipal court, only to have a municipal court judge tell me that he could not entertain the Constitution. And I want to know what exactly is wrong with this town and this state when a judge has the absolute gall to tell you on the record that he cannot entertain the Constitution. Because I'm pretty sure that the Supremacy Clause mandates that he does. You have an animal control officer that willingly got on the stand, perjured himself. This town did nothing to any of my complaints. The mayor, the town council, the business administrator is no longer here. Who controls the employees in this town that work for me and the rest of the people in this town?
The administration.
Who controls their behavior? Who investigates them?
Administration.
Well, then we have a township that has nobody at the ship, nobody at the helm, I don't understand how we're still operating. There's no means of bringing any employees in this town under control and made to heel and follow the law. Now, there are documents. I got one, and again, I said last time I was here, I don't think I was meant to get it. But it's an email from Andrew Cheney telling the town attorney that he was in communication with the OC County prosecutor about the criminal complaints I made. And last I heard, that's illegal. He was having ex parte communications with a prosecutor. And he was telling the attorney, thinking that he was going to shield that document from me by the attorney using attorney-client privilege to keep them. I don't understand what it's going to take to get this township to operate within the rules of the law. Taxpayer money is being funneled to attorneys so that they can hide documents, just like my reevaluation. Still haven't gotten any documents. I sued this town. We're in tax court now. You've been served. And I ask again, what is it going to take? I don't understand how anybody can justify keeping documents that pertain to me, the reevaluation of my house, animal control officers that are writing summonses to me in retaliation while I'm in court, while I'm appealing a case in the appellate court. They think that it's amusing to send me a second summons. They're abusing the authority of their office. Andrew Cheney is rogue. He thinks he's answerable to no one. Code enforcement, it's not code enforcement, it's Andrew Cheney's code. And if you go against it, he weaponizes his office. He writes summonses against the residents, and he laughs at you while he's doing it because he knows that a town attorney is going to keep the documents from you, that you can use to prosecute him. But I'm not done. I'm going to get justice with Andrew Cheney and animal control. At some point, I'm going to sue in Superior Court. I'm going to make this town give me those documents that show that he was hiding behind the attorney and keeping the documents from me while his animal control officer was getting on the stand and committing perjury. There should be some standard. Right now, I don't see any, because I send lawful, legal OPA requests. I know the documents are there. I'm within the GRC right now with a docketed complaint over the tax revaluation records.
Thank you, sir.
Janice Solero. I have a question about the LLCs. I know you folks addressed what you plan on doing. I actually had one next door to me that you sold, and thankfully, it's a great couple that bought it.
Thank God.
I am so
Thank
happy.
God.
I sat out the window all day watching who was going in and
Where
out.
are you? Well, you don't have to tell me.
I'm on Deer Creek Court.
Oh,
You
yeah.
sold the ranch
Yeah, yeah.
prior.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a criteria with the, I mean, I used to be a renter back in the day. I was, a clean, neat freak. What we're seeing around town, and you all are getting the phone calls about it. Isn't there a criteria for the LLCs before they rent to people? Because the stories that I'm reading, and thank God they're gone next door to me, because that house, and you probably know the story, the guy didn't pay rent for 4 years. I mean, you could get high sitting on my back deck.
I know.
From him. It was insane. He blew the fireplace out.
I know.
That was his only source of heat. But I did do the walkthrough. Is there I have a fireplace. I think if I was to sell, which I'm not unless I'm forced out of here, I would imagine that my fireplace has to be in working order.
You do have a fire inspection.
Okay.
Fire and smoke.
That fireplace, I did the walkthrough right before it was, I don't know, the open house day. Why is there just like, it's like those pretend logs with a cord that's plugged in?
I don't know.
Because I saw that. I'm like, how the heck did this pass?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
mean, you sold it. I mean,
If I got a CO, so it
and
had to
how
pass
does
the
that
township.
happen?
Had
Is
to-
that legal is my question. Like,
If it's not working, if it's not plugged in, then
the
yeah.
fireplace, obviously, as you know, was not working. Wouldn't that have to be working in order to sell? Or you could sell
Not
a
if
house?
it's not hooked up anymore, no.
Well,
township comes in and
It was
inspects.
a wood-burning fireplace.
So if it's a wood burning,
Well, the prior tenant, if you will, whoever he was that screwed the LLC and didn't pay for 4 years, he used that solely, he had wood delivered, I know, because I live next door, every other week.
So-
he never used the furnace.
when
I
you,
don't-
when you sell a house, you have to get a continued certificate of occupancy. That's when the township comes out. If the township approved it, which is your building department, then
But that
it's approved.
fireplace was not
Or if it's code
working.
enforcement, if it's a rental, it's code enforcement. And code enforcement, I can't tell you, I don't go to the inspection, so I can tell you that I wasn't there. But I can tell you if it's your code enforcement for your continued certificate of
Yeah,
occupancy
because
for a
I
rental.
asked the couple that's there now,
Yeah.
and I went over to introduce.
Then they passed it, then they felt it was
I said,
approved.
are you guys, they're like, the fireplace is not working, and I'm like.
They
well,
should contact their landlord or, you know. if
Well,
it's-
they bought it, so now
Oh.
they're the new owner. What I'm saying is, there's like fake light up fire logs in there that when they bought the house, that was put in there. In my opinion, that fireplace should have been working when
That's
it was
the
rehab.
opinion of the township, when they go out there and they do the inspection, is what they recommend that you have to do as a homeowner. When you sell your house, that's what you have to do. If they don't recommend it and they say it's fine, then, you know,
Okay,
there's nobody that
was
can
my
come in.
question.
Yeah, so you have code enforcement if it's a rental, and then you have the building department when it was with the building department, when it was a continued certificate of occupancy.
So if I were to sell my house,
You go to the fire department now.
My fireplace should work with wood.
Let me
correct?
jump in.
Yeah.
Let me jump in. I'm not familiar with a code requirement that a fireplace has to be in some particular working order in
Right.
order to get a CO. Normally, if someone's buying a house, they do a home inspection, they hire their own inspector. That inspector would.
And they just say, look, you could buy the
They have
house,
two
but it
options. They
doesn't
can raise
work.
the issue and the
As
buyer
is.
can say, fix this, get a
Correct.
fireplace chimney person in here. Or they can say, we'll take it as is and we'll pay this much less. So that's normally the way it's done, but I'm not familiar with a code provision that says the fireplace has to be, thank you.
Able to burn wood
But-
and not have a
well,
fake light
As
up
Council President just
Christmas
reminded, she
log.
believes that there's a chimney inspection requirement. So you would have to get that, and if it passed, it passed.
Okay, that was my question.
Thank you.
Hello again, Donnie Edelman, Willow Point Drive, Jackson, New Jersey. Couple of things. I'd like to formally offer my condolences to the Sargent family on the passing of Scott, and also to the families of the people from the different accidents that have happened in town where people have unfortunately died. It happens. People, to be a little bit in an area with deer and everything else, can't do anything about it. Now, Cheney. As some of you, well, as you know, because I brought it up, I have a mouse problem. Cheney won't respond to me. And Ms. Council President, yes, I know you did reach out and you asked him to do it. Nothing's happened. Why is it that we're allowing somebody who's causing all these problems for the town, causing all these lawsuits to continue working for the town? Quite literally, he has multiple residents that, have needed code enforcement. He won't even talk to them. And this is allowed. Now, we come to you and we ask for help. And I'm not saying you guys aren't trying. Believe me, let me clarify that. You guys are doing your part, and I can't ask for you to do anything more than call him. But if he does nothing about it and continues to do nothing about it, why is he still working for us? The man is a cancer on this town. That's number one. Number two.
Mr. Edelman, could I respond to you for a second?
Can you save it to the end so I
Sure.
don't lose my time? Next, I did ask for a moral clause in regards to the police director, because as you know, I'm a First Amendment auditor. I was filming at Justice Complex, and Director Candido didn't like it, so he criminalized it after the fact. All right. He doesn't understand the Constitution, and I think it's absolutely disgusting and disrespectful that all of you, because you all are culpable in this, and those two over there, that you're talking about the freedoms and sacrifice and service. Meanwhile, you spit, and you might as well just urinate on the graves of the soldiers when you do what you
Hey,
do.
come on, please.
No, it is
That's
what
out
it
of order.
is.
That's out of
All
order,
right?
please.
They fought and sacrificed.
I don't
for
want to
freedom.
argue with you. I'm just
Excuse me.
asking.
They fought and they sacrificed for the freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom to redress their government. And when it's criminalized because he doesn't like it and his officers are caught breaking the law, I shouldn't be receiving
Council
tickets in the
President.
mail. And when I ask for help, I should do that. I want some help having this guy have his officers recall every one of those tickets because I didn't break the law. He just doesn't like people filming.
All right, let's, I'm not, no.
Let's call it out.
We're not
What it is.
doing that. We're not
No,
doing
no,
that.
no,
We're not doing that. We're not doing
But I
that.
would ask that,
Council-
I would
Council-
ask for the.
Mr.
township-
Edelman.
Excuse me, I'm not, my time's still
Public
going.
can talk about anything
All
they
right.
want.
I would
Okay.
like to have the township
I just don't-
administrator meet with me in regards to my outstanding issues, the substitute, whatever
Thank
it is, the whatever her name is, the substitute administrator, the sub administrator, whatever, meet with me over my problems.
You're talking about Miss Novak?
Yeah,
She's
All
on
right.
vacation.
yeah, cool, awesome. The other thing is, as weird as this Twilight Zone week has been, you know, there's no loss between myself and Mayor Reyna, and I happened to break down across the street from his house last weekend. I didn't realize it was him, and I do want to thank him on the record saying, because I didn't recognize it was him. He didn't recognize it was me, but I was broken down on whatever that street is across from him, and
Hawkins.
he came back. He came and he asked, you know, can you help me? Is there anything he could do? Any phone call? Unfortunately, it's a race car computer problems. Nothing he could do. Now,
I'm sure he's very
let's get to
thankful
the
for
ugly
that.
part. I received several letters in regards to my activity. I'd like to read to the one that I received today anonymously, but I know it's from a police officer's wife because every time the police officers in this town have an issue, I end up having a sexual relationship with them. All right. It just is
Mr.
what it
Adelman,
is.
stop.
All right. But here, Don Edelman, you're the one standing up to their corruption. The council doesn't do anything about it. The police director, Candido, was caught cheating on his girlfriend multiple times, and she put it all over Facebook. Nobody will say anything. You know, the cops are supposed to be an officer and gentleman and act better than anyone else. They have rules they have to follow, but not Candido don't. Sorry, not my, it's just reading.
We have children in here,
All
so.
right. I know that there's nothing in there. Will they do anything, or will they do anything paying him $250,000 like nothing happened and rules don't apply to him and he's embarrassing the whole town? He needs an investigation. The council needs to do something about it, but they won't because they're all corrupt. Now, that's what I was saying. I get letters like this all the time. And sometimes they're death threats and everything like that, but whatever. What Candido doesn't know is that he's been under surveillance for the better part of a year for his exes. And
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
how do I taste there, Joey?
That's,
He would know.
stop,
It's disgusting.
stop. Mr. Adelman,
This up. We get a police officer in here if we're gonna keep this up.
we have two in here. We have one.
Sorry.
Okay, ready?
Good.
Hope Drew again. All right, so I'm going to read this.
Just say Jackson.
Just Jackson.
Thank you.
I hate the microphone. Just so I can get this on record, I guess. And then hopefully you can answer some questions when I'm done. All right, so just to get this out there, I feel there's a lot of confusion. So our LUPA does not override all local laws. Our LUPA protects religious land use from being substantially burdened, but it still allows towns to enforce neutrality and generally applicable laws, zoning, occupancy, and safety. Our LUPA does not require towns to give special treatment to any group if it violates the rights of others. Jackson was not found guilty in the discriminatory zoning. We settled on that lawsuit. That settlement led to the creation of a clear definition of assembly area to protect the religious rights and to ensure zoning fairness. The goal was balance and transparency, not to let people bypass the process, many of which we have in place. What's happening is the opposite. Jackson is no longer accused of restricting religious use. Now it is allowing large religious assembly spaces like that at 45 Pitney without proper zoning review. No public hearing, no use variance, no planning board input, no certificate of occupancy, no safety sign-offs. That's not religious freedom. That's special treatment that hurts everyone else. The addition at 45 Pitney is not a typical home alteration. The structure added to the back of 45 Pitney isn't a minor extension. It's a full-scale commercial-style addition. It's basically a massive auditorium. It resembles the size of a small Rite Aid or a corner market, not something you'd find in a residential home. It includes commercial-style exit signs, multiple HVAC units, and clearly is built for high-capacity group use. From the outside, it no longer functions or looks like a single-family home. This is a de facto zoning bypass. These properties are functioning as private synagogues or assembly halls in residential zones. Residents and neighbors are shut out of the entire process, which violates the Equal Protection Clause, part of the 14th Amendment, the Establishment Clause, the First Amendment, and even a huge part of our LUPA, which prohibits harming others through unbalanced treatment. The township is admitting the problem, but not fixing it. 45 Pitney's illegal use is creating traffic, safety issues, and neighborhood disruption. And I want to say this on the record, for years. It had a tent for years, and now it has this monstrosity. Instead of shutting it down or forcing zoning compliance, the town passes Resolution R166-2025 to fix its side effect. The resolution includes striping, signage, radar signs, speed tables. The project will cost taxpayers an expected $17,500. Taxpayers are now going to be paying to manage a problem the town refuses to properly regulate. The resolution is a Band-Aid. It is not a solution. R166-2025 does not fix the cause. It just papers over the symptoms. It's an expensive Band-Aid to avoid enforcing the laws. And it sends a message to certain people that don't follow the rules. So now I have my questions. Before all of you approved or said yes to Resolution 166-25, did you try to find out what was the cause for all the traffic? Mr. Borelli or Mr. Palmieri? Did either or any of you?
I don't have an answer to your question at this time for R166.
Okay, do you know what R166 is?
I would have to reference it again. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, so it's a bid to put out to a company to do a traffic, figure out the mess. So what's causing the mess?
You're talking about a 45 Pitney.
45 Pitney is causing
Yes.
the traffic mess. Right.
So we are looking, I did speak with traffic safety. I spoke with the engineer as well as Councilman Bernstein. And the engineers, recommended no parking from Danielle to South Cooksbridge, as well as putting in calming stripes, but doing them, I'm just answering your
All right,
question.
no, but my issue is not, it's the cause that's causing the traffic. We all know what's causing the traffic. If there was zoning enforcement, this is a blatant zoning violation. This house has no approval to be operating, especially the intensity you said it is. So what are we doing here? I can't believe I just lost all my time. I don't even have questions.
Well,
what are
your
we
time
doing?
your
All
time
right.
is, but Councilman's going to answer this one question, and then next meeting you can come back, but maybe just go right to your questions. Yes, go ahead.
Add to Mr. Drew's point, the engineers in the traffic safety pointed out to us that most of the traffic that was coming to Pitney was actually coming because people were using it as a cut through from Hope Chapel because it's a mess over there. Additionally, that's part of the reason why some of our law enforcement officers actually advocated against the Board of Ed's decision, because they didn't want Liberty becoming the main hub for high schools. So a lot of the traffic that they calculated was based on the increased traffic from Hope Chapel just diverting.
I've been cutting through there since 1990, through the 80s too. That's how I went to
Okay,
my
and there's a
high
lot more
school.
people like you who are cutting through.
Well, no, there's a house that's bringing in 30, 40, 50 cars. Are we denying that? I mean, it's every single day. Every single day. It's on the weekends from Friday to Sunday. You cannot continue to deny these massive additions. Why was that addition approved on the back of that house?
All right.
No one applied for a change of use for it. There is no application to have allowed it to not only be built, because it's not at all even residential in look, it's a commercial operation that is violating the rights of every single resident. And not only what you did is that if you had forced them to apply for the change of use, this finance that you're putting on the taxpayers would have been their cost to carry. You literally just put yourself in aiding the advancement of what's going on here. You're entangled
I have
yourself
to- I have
by
to stop you.
financially paying for that.
I have
You're
to
making
stop
us
because
pay.
the minutes,
The
the
change
meeting's
of
going to
use-
be over in
wait,
12
they would've-
minutes and you have.
Listen,
Hope-
they would have
hope-
had to
Miss
pay
Drew.
for the traffic study.
Miss
They would have
Drew.
had to put all those things in place.
Miss
Not
Drew.
us, not Jackson Township.
I-
That they're doing it illegal, so they don't have to foot the bill to follow the legal process.
Listen, I got to.
It's a zoning issue, and this is not the only address. I'm not
Thank
going to
you.
come up here and give the slew of them, but Gale Chambers is around the block. It's a mirror image of what's happening. Are you going to close down Cooksbridge Road? They can't park there. You're going to close down Gale Chambers. They can't park there. How many streets you're going to close down that cars can't park on because you don't want to address the
meeting's
issue
gonna
that's
be over
causing
in
it?
12 minutes and nobody else is going to be able to speak. Thank you so much, though. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And one thing, stop telling people when they call that they're, someone calls and said, oh, the house is being used illegally, and they're being told that as long as someone lives there, they can use it in
Thank
any
you.
way they want. They cannot. Intensity use is not made up in Jersey, Jackson. Intensity use is the law of United States of
you,
America.
Hope. All right,
And you
that's
cannot
it.
just use a house any way you want.
Thank you. So I'm just letting you know, we're going to be able to get 2 more speakers and the meeting is concluded at 9 o'clock. So,
Is that on the books that the meeting ends at 9 o'clock?
isn't it? That's what I've always been told.
Never heard of
No?
that.
Okay, go ahead.
Eleanor Hannum, Jackson, New Jersey, first and foremost, unless you specify that our meetings end at 9 o'clock, you cannot end them at 9 o'clock.
Ma'am, I
because
just
then-
said I didn't
Excuse
realize.
me, you are talking over me. It is my time. I'm just going to add to what Hope just said regarding these houses of worship, illegal use, daycare centers, that this township is actually aiding and abetting instead of upholding the law. So the discrimination that is going on with your consent order that you decided to settle, you have now taken it, perversed it, and twisted it around. And now people like me are being discriminated against because I can't do whatever I want and turn my entire house into an assembly. But, got to make sure that you keep the institutional investors happy. I also would like to address the fact that Oprah requests, it seems as though there's a problem. I think, we never had this issue before. Every single Oprah request is coming back based that due to staffing shortages, we need an extra 10 business days, which is another 2 weeks. So essentially you're pushing almost a month. Or the fact that an Oprah request is going to be denied because you're being told that, well, you can't talk about it because it's in litigation. Numerous times did I ask, I Oprah requested the Pinelands letter. And I was told at these council meetings that, you can't have it because it's in litigation. Well, I was in contact with the Pinelands Commission, and that was a lie because they were never in litigation. And that was back in the fall. I'd also like to talk about or address the fact that we still don't have a business administrator. From what I understand, there's been many applicants, some of which are supposed to be decent, and there's still no appointments. The fact that the township budget still has not been approved, and that has been ongoing, I don't know, since January. And to go back to the Oprah requests, because now we have, 3 people working in the clerk's office? Well, it's interesting because I counted how many Oprah requests for April, 129. So far, May, 91. So I guess that's too burdensome, especially the fact that the staffing shortages were induced by people sitting up here. So I decided to call other townships. Howell, so far this year, 1,150. Freehold, only 50, and she explained that. And Bricktown, 857. So clearly, Jackson seems to have a problem producing or fulfilling Oprah requests because these other towns seem to have a lot more. Houses of worship that are being illegally used in a residential home that Ms. Drew just brought up. So we have some that were just approved, but they're still operating on a residential CO. So they're not supposed to be operating with such use until they have accommodated all the requirements under the use, and they're not. And this township, I am watching create biased ordinances. Windows, go figure, Pitney. Windows, go figure, Gale Chambers. These are all intentional houses of worship, and they are lying. The same way I was lied to about the Pinelands letter because it was in litigation. So I don't know how much lying is going on. It's really difficult to actually trust that anything is being said is truth, especially the fact that we have the Open Space Trust Fund. I didn't realize that my money that taxpayers voted to give to purchase open space can be used for Collier's grant writing, or it can be used to patch up mistakes that were made, or can be used for landscaping. The amount of money, over $2 million in less than 2 years, has been raked out of this open space trust fund.
Thank you. And I agree with you with the trust fund.
You used it for
Have a
your
great-
pickleball. You used it for your pickleball.
No, I didn't.
You
No,
weren't
I
listening 2
didn't.
meetings ago.
You obviously don't listen, so that's inaccurate information, ma'am. You have a
Joe
great night.
Krakowski, Mill Pond Road, Jackson.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Joe Krakowski. I have a question about 2025-19. This is like, the only open mining in Jackson is Clayton's Pit, which everyone knows. And that was sold to the federal government in 2009. So the feds own it. So it's way more than 400 acres. So I'm curious, does this put them out of business? Because it says maximum 400 acres. I don't know. You can
That's
answer.
first reading.
You know,
Yeah.
it's first reading, but it's still.
I'll look into it and get back to your question.
Okay. So, how about this one here? 186-225. Is this basically because we don't have a budget that's been passed yet? That's why this was written? So they can mail out the tax bills that aren't completely accurate?
Correct.
They wouldn't know. Right.
Correct.
So right now it's $1.40 per 100 of assessed value. So what?
That was asked for the tax collector to get them out. We're hoping to get the budget, as I had said earlier.
Correct.
I don't know if you were here. We're going to have the CFO
Yeah,
at the next meeting.
But the main thing is
So-
how much can this $1.40 go up? That's my.
We can't answer that. That's
Right.
not, yeah. But
Is there a limit, or can it just go up to
No.
$3, or?
we're hoping it stays at $1.40.
So there's no limit.
We're hoping it stays at $1.40.
It's not what I said. There's no
Oh,
limit.
I can't hear
I
you.
know what you're hoping for and what reality is. two
I
different
can't
things.
answer you. I was just
I
saying.
know, but
yeah.
it can go up as much as,
I can't answer you. We would have to ask Mr. Marr that when we get that.
how about the lawyer? He's sitting right there.
He's not the tax collector.
He wouldn't know.
I'm sorry, I don't know, didn't understand the question. Could you say it again?
Right now, the tax rate is $1.40 per 100 of assessed value,
Right?
and the budget hasn't been passed yet.
Right.
So that's why this has been written, the 186-2025. My concern is the $1.40 can go up to what? Is there a limit? Does anybody know? Like to be able to pass the
So
budget?
there's different cap laws depending what's
Okay.
inside a cap, what's outside a cap.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I would assume that there could be a tax increase, may not be any tax increase. There
Okay.
hasn't been one for a few years. So all that is an
17
estimated
years.
tax bill. And once the budget is struck, that tax bill is adjusted in the third and fourth quarters,
Right.
just like in every other municipality.
Right.
I
Okay.
just want to
Until
add, do you know that our taxes, our local taxes have not been raised in 17 years? The local taxes, 17 years.
Wow.
17 years. How are we even not, how are we, this is from the CFO. I met with her today.
Okay.
So,
I also have about the fireplaces. This is like public service announcement. Very
Okay.
critical to get it inspected because the chimney fires occur. I get mine inspected.
that's what
But-
I said.
So there was a house, 22 Alana Drive, which was doing illegal construction. This was a couple years ago. They had no power in the house, so they were using the fireplace to heat the house and do the work.
Mm.
So I reported it to the building department. Nothing happened. Then the place went on fire, and it's on a cul-de-sac. So that could have been really bad. But that's history, so,
Thank you.
that's just for them. And then the restitution fund, I thought it was for the New Jersey Attorney General's lawsuit that was against Jackson. There was a $150,000 restitution fund.
There's two.
There's two different ones.
One for the federal, one for the state.
Okay. So this one was December 31st of 2024 was the deadline to fill out an application to receive some of that restitution.
And I believe there was an extension that
Okay.
was granted for a few months.
I didn't see that.
It should be done by now.
Has any of it been
We haven't been-
distributed?
Mr. Paulman might know that answer. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay.
But my understanding, Justice Department has pretty much finished with what they were going to do. My understanding is that it's pretty much done.
Okay. I'm just curious who got the money, that's all.
Me too.
And then we have the illegal use in my neighborhood. 84 Mill Pond has been running for about 4 years. So you have tour buses that drop off 40 to 50 people, school buses. I had videos. I went to zoning. I think it's over 4 years already. And it's still operating, still going. So, took it to the zoning. We don't want to see the videos. We don't care. We don't want to, So that's what you're dealing with in this town. Thank you.
Wait, sir, I just have a question. Your last name, you said is Krakovich? Is it Krakovsky?
Correct.
So speaking of tax collector, Mr. Marr came to me today, and I think the clerk was there, because you've never come up and spoke that I recall. Maybe you did, but I don't.
I have lots
And you
of
were
times, but
asking,
not
you
recently.
emailed him asking why I was driving in car 928 of the township vehicle.
Yeah.
I never was.
Oh, somebody
So-
said they saw you, so I just asked them.
Why would I be in a township vehicle driving around?
I know, that's why I asked him,
Why didn't you just ask me?
because I wanted, he's the
Why would
tax
you ask
assessor.
Peter
It's his
Marr?
car, right? Tax assessor's vehicle.
Oh,
So,
that was like the craziest thing that I was asking. He was like, I said forward the email to me because I would have responded to,
Yeah,
but
that's
no,
fine.
I was not driving around at 10:40 a.m. in Mr. Marr's car.
I didn't give any time, so I don't know.
It
where
was
you
in
got
your
that.
email. The email was sent at 10:40 a.m. So that's why.
Oh, that's when yeah, but that wasn't when I saw it.
But no, I wasn't. So I just wanted to answer
Okay.
that directly to you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carlos Martins, Jackson. So based on everything I heard today, I have a lot of ugly stuff on my list. But I'm going to respect my mom who said, go do good, bad, then ugly. So I'm probably not going to get to the ugly, which is okay. We can take up another day. I did want to say a word about Councilman Sargent. So I actually never spoke to Councilman Sargent. I've never met him personally. But I have come up here a few times lately. And every time he was there, and I'd get immediate feedback from his face expressions. Many times a smile. Sometimes a look like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. But that was all good. It was all good. And even though I never met him, I know I'm going to miss him from not being in that chair. So I just wanted to put that out there, bring down the temperature a little bit. But I had that on the list anyway. I was going to say it anyway. So thank you for the opportunity for saying that. Some people just have an aura around them. And even though you don't meet them, you're just in their presence. You feel safe. You feel good. And obviously, it's very nerve-wracking coming up here, especially if you don't have any experience public speaking. And he always made me feel good and safe. So thank you. All right. Other things. No, I said it already, but I'd like to put it on the record. Our new township clerk, whose last name is Martin. I'm Martin's. No relationship, okay? No relationship. But she is awesome. I had a question around the Open Air Trust Fund and how it worked and how the website worked, right? The code, we get that question a lot. And I learned tremendous amount. Anybody else wants to I'll be happy to teach them as well. It's actually pretty good. I got to tell you, it's up to date as of 2024. It's got that section for the new stuff, which is 2025. That's pretty good. Based on your comments that, hey, yours is not updated, I was expecting like 6 years worth of stuff that was missing. But anyway, so like I said, I'm going to go with the good first. I'm not going to get to the bad, but that's okay. So that was one. And then, okay, a little bit. So you said the next meeting, the CFO and who else was going to be here?
Hopefully the auditor. That did
Auditor.
Our audit.
Great. Auditor. Love auditor.
That's for Q&A for council, though. It's not,
Oh,
it's
I
not
don't
going to
get a
be.
chance to
Email me if you
interrogate
have a
the
question.
auditor.
Follow him into the hallway.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an ex-auditor, by the way, so that's why. Okay, give me just a second. Oh, all right. I'm an opportunity basher, so Ms. Cohen, I'm going to bash you a little bit.
Me?
Yeah. What the heck?
Join the club.
It's just more for the par from whatever else is happening, right? So before, when I was asking the question about what the date was for the Pineland meeting,
Yeah.
my real question was, how do I find out about the date? I get
You
it. We
don't
don't know
know.
the date. I know.
Oh.
So how do I stay
Go
informed?
to the Pinelands
so somebody
website.
tells me when it is so I can go. That was the question.
Yeah.
The Pinelands Commission advertises their meetings just like the township does for their own. So if you go on the Pinelands website, it'll have the date of their next meeting.
Okay.
New Jersey Pinelands Commission.
Right.
Find their website and it'll have their
And I could-
meetings as to when
I
they're
could
doing
probably
it.
sign up for something and get an alert that it's coming and all that.
I don't know if that. Oh,
By
I
the
don't
way,
know if
that
you're
was
gonna
my,
get an
okay,
alert.
right. We're not that efficient, but anyway, that was my question.
I knew.
All right.
I knew it was, but he was saying June, July, August. I was
I
like,
get it. I get it. We don't know the date. I think I'm done. How much time I got? 45. See? Shoot. Okay. So what we're doing now, we're kind of like we're highlighting what we're talking about and stuff. That's awesome.
Thank you.
For us to follow. I think it was because of a comment that
Everything
someone
comes
made
from a
before.
comment. Yep.
But
We're
yeah,
building
because
it.
I know I'm confused and
Now it's
anyway,
okay.
I'm getting old, so that's probably why I was confused. Okay.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
all. Yep, no problem.
Have a good night.
Moshe Hyman, 31 Adelphi Drive. I just wanted to comment on the passing of Councilman Sargent. First, my sincere condolences to the Sargent family. Scott was a true public servant. He personified what it means to serve. A Navy veteran, former Jackson DPW worker, former Board of Ed member, and a councilman. He lived his life to do good for others. Every time we met, he would ask me how I'm doing and making sure everything was good. He never shied from voicing his opinions, for good or for bad. But even greater is he knew when to remain silent when nothing needed to be said. He will be sorely missed by everyone in Jackson. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
President.
Yes.
If I may, sir, I did check the website as I'm sitting here on my phone. The Pinelands Commission next meets on June 13th. Their next meeting after that is July 11th, and the one after that is August 8th. And they post their agenda very shortly before the meeting. All right.
Thank you.
Hello, Amanda Trombetta. I promised my kids my question would be the shortest question. So I just want to know, what is the status of hiring a business administrator?
So if you could just say Jackson or
I
where you
did.
live.
I said
Oh.
Amanda Trombetta, Jackson, New Jersey.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I
That's
didn't
okay.
hear you. The applications are coming in and we're reviewing them.
If I could just add that also, that there were a couple applications that initially were given in that really did not meet what I think the residents would have liked, and someone who would actually be on top of engaged in the department. So council initially were not happy with them. The mayor sent a couple more recently, and the mayor has been away for about a couple days already. We're waiting for him to be back. There was email sent asking for a meeting to sit down, making sure we were aligned with what we're looking for, and he hasn't responded.
3 emails.
I didn't hear your last.
There were emails that we asked the mayor to sit down and have a meeting to discuss, go over some of the candidates, and the mayor hasn't responded yet in about
He
2.5
hasn't
weeks.
responded.
So when he gets back, you're
We're
supposed to be
hoping he's
meeting
coming
to
back
roll
at the
it
end
out?
of the week.
If he
yeah.
agrees to a meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no one else come forward, make a motion to close public comment.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
None.
Motion closed?
Motion closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Extra.
Yeah. That's fine.